I do not have anything to advertise for this video, so I will advertise myself. Take a hint, advertisers, this is where your product or game or whatever could be placed. I am on Cameo. Why am I on Cameo? Because I want to give everyone an opportunity for me to be a part of your life and make a specific moment in time special for you. Do you need a YamatoCannon speech before the big test or the challenge or the competition that you are facing? Do you want me to flame your friend for him running you down during your placement matches? Maybe you want to just send best wishes to someone recovering because they broke a leg after they went skiing in the middle of summer when there's no snow, there's no padding, so you just fall. It's dangerous, man. Whatever idea you can think of, I'm sure that we can work together to make this moment in time for you special. Make sure to book me on Cameo and make sure also to reach out to me for this advertising space, so I don't need to do these silly, goofy, interjections. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the Voice of Yamato episode something. I haven't done one in ages, so I have no clue which number it is. Maybe I'll change the name of this to the Nutcast or something, people were begging for it. I'm here with Caedrel and IWDominate. I'm kind of curious how you guys would introduce yourselves. Because obviously everybody knows you, I know you, but I'm curious what you would say when I ask you, Dom, please introduce yourself.
I mean, for your audience, I would just say I'm one of the core nuts in the sack. I really like how it is the voice of Yamato, because what people don't know that are watching this is Yamato doesn't even show us his face. So it's only his voice that we listen to. He just has an OBS and a camera off button in the call as Yamato. So it's truly just the voice of Yamato. It's perfect.
I just want you to stay focused. You're so humble, Dom. You don't reference your pro player career. You don't reference...
I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring up pro play when Caedrel's here. We can just view ourselves as streamers. We can talk about our streaming career.
All right, let me introduce myself then. I'm not part of the nutsack. I'm kind of like the scrotum that OMG's gonna get shafted by in playoffs.
Shafted by the scrotum, bro. Your anatomy is so fun, dude. I never want to see your dick, Caedrel. Let me tell you, I never want.
Wait, what's the scrotum?
He fucks people with his scrotum. What the fuck? I can't. All right.
Penis biology.
You can get your balls in there, man.
Am I wrong?
Okay.
You can get your balls in there.
Pull it up. Pull it up in the show.
Wait, the scrotum is the ball sack?
It's the ball sack.
Yeah, it's like, yes, bro. You're doing some freaky shit. You're a freak. Everyone knows it. Continue.
I thought it was the fucking.
To be fair, devil's advocate, you could do some mad shit.
With the scrotum or
with the scrot.
What kind of mad shit you've been doing?
Nevertheless, I think we jump to the next thing. Guys, I wanted to make a bet with you two. Because I love Rookie and Jackie Love, but it just over the last weeks it's just gotten too easy. Topismus is already up there. I wanted to put some, some emphasis on the line because we got OMG, Weibo, but Topismus was doing too good. So maybe I was just orchestrate.
No, I'm Yamato. I'm supporting the team with players that won Worlds so many times, and they almost won the LPL last year. Oh no, they're at the top. Oh my god.
What are you saying, blood? What is Weibo, mate?
Bro.
What is Weibo?
Bro.
What is Weibo? Look at that roster,
I'm the only
mate.
real fan
That's the
here.
point. They're like rising from the ashes. You know what I'm saying?
Rising from
They're
the
like,
ashes.
What the fuck?
Yeah. The ashes are still burning, but they're gonna rise to the phoenix soon, baby. Don't you worry about that.
Bro.
Dude, get off your fucking golden pedestal.
That's what I'm trying to say. That it's not fair because I wanted to be
what he's
the top
saying, man.
esports guy. I'm trying to make that point that it doesn't
So-
make
so
sense for
nice.
me
So
to
you
be
guys-
involved because my stakes are already set. You know, top esports are going to make it. So maybe I could
Make it what?
orchestrate something between you two, where OMG versus Weibo put your balls on the table. I could
All I'm
offer
saying is,
Or scrotum.
Scrotum,
put the
yes.
scrotum on the table.
Okay, what do you want?
What I'm
They're
saying
actually
is,
tied at 5th. What, they're both 8 and 5?
you guys get super teams, literally like multi-million-dollar rosters, and I just get like 5 hobos that they pulled off the street that ended up just being super insane at League together. So
What do you mean super teams? More like super washed. What the fuck? You see Karsa?
I mean, Karsa Weiwei is like is a legit jungler, bro. Like Weiwei's been in the league for a while. He had that run on D5.
Scaling, bro. Xiaohu's been smurfing, bro. This is him. Like, this is summer
Yo,
Xiaohu.
How many MSI championships and world championships do OMG have compared to the rest of your teams? Yeah, I rest my case.
How many cringe kids does OMG have that are frauds that are getting exposed? Yeah, 5. That's all that matters.
0. 0. You can't be frauds unless you're hyped up like the Shy.
Ooh, we play Rumble. Ooh, look at me. I play a Kali mid. My name's Cream. Ooh, I'm useful. Shut up.
What are you doing? Kissing scrotums? Or like, I don't know what he's doing.
No, you're like, this is you eating the crumbs of the pie that Weibo's going to eat in playoffs.
Ooh,
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Well, number one, they're not going to play each other unless they get to like the finals because they're 5th and 6th, so they're on opposite sides of the bracket.
See you there, buddy.
Yo, both of you are the co-streaming goats. You want to put that on the line? Who is the actual GOAT and the pure definition of it? I will give you guys a big-ass Yamato speech, a big one to hype you up as you are the GOAT, if your team makes it at the top. I'll deliver it with such intensity, and I'll edit a fucking long highlight reel of your team making it all the way, as long as your team beats the other team.
I mean, it sounds like no work for me and a lot of work for you.
Defending the team or defending us?
No, basically, you guys are, for you two, you guys are the co-streaming goats, plain and simple. You two. Who else is in the conversation? Who else?
LS?
Well, I will say if there's like a GOAT decision here, my opinion, and this is the only time I'll be nice to him, is Domis, because I was a pure random before, and Dom's co-streams and live views, and like him inviting me as a guest is what skyrocketed me to like be able to even have a platform in the first place. So I will always bow down to Dom in that regard. No matter what numbers.
Damn, wait, got all that. Now it's wholesome. Now I don't want to make fun of his scrotum anymore. You know what, Caedrel? I'm sure your scrotum is perfectly fine. Like,
what are you going to say about my scrotum? What the fuck?
I was just going to say, like, your anatomy, I was kind of like trying to put it together in my brain. But you know what?
How would you know?
What? I'm just saying, like, I was trying to picture what Weibo was going to do with their scrotum. I was trying to picture it. I didn't get it. I don't know what's going on.
What the hell's going on?
Okay, so plain and simple, you guys are too nice to each other. No scrotum involved. Whichever team of yours wins, I'm going to give you guys a very, very nice edited highlight reel of gorgeous plays with the backdrop of sultry Yamato sounds and a speech behind it to elevate the team to the World Championship. That will be your reward.
Perfect.
And nothing else in the line. Because you guys are too far away from each other. I can't push you out of a plane or something. You have to skydive or some shit. I can't make it too crazy.
Push me out of a plane?
What the fuck?
What the hell, Yamato?
That's right. Out of the plane.
Holding a bet.
Honestly, I did that on Euphoria. I had that bet, but I lost, and they never came back to me because I fled to Korea. That was
all right.
I just fled to Korea for half a year.
So you're saying that you need to skydive still?
No, fuck that shit, man. Like I hate heights. It's not that I'm afraid of heights. It's just that whenever I am in high places, I get dizzy. Did you guys get dizzy?
You get dizzy from the fear, or just purely dizzy?
Just dizzy, like my stomach.
Do you know what I get dizzy fear from?
What?
Needles.
Watching the Shy Lane? Oh,
no, needles.
Needles and injections. Those, dude, when I see a syringe, my whole body is like...
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really good with injections because of the years of practice at this point, you know? So we're like, I'm good with needles.
What's your biggest fear then, Dom?
OMG losing?
Now be honest with us. Open up here, man. Open up. What's your biggest fear?
What is my biggest fear?
We're having a moment.
Probably like not being able to breathe, because I've had like problems with like, it's like suffocation probably, because I've had problems with my breathing before. And like I've had like, just issues before. And I just feel like that's just the worst way to go out, man. Like if you just can't breathe, that's the panic sets in and everything. Yeah, that's probably my worst fear.
That's a horror.
No.
But you have to specify it. Now, I don't want to get too much in detail, but can't breathe. I think I actually researched this. Can't breathe as in like you're underwater, because if you're like in a tank and it's running out of oxygen slowly, you don't suffocate because you pass out because of lack of oxygen and then you die in your sleep. So you die suffocating, but you don't die like choking, if that makes sense. So like I think the choking side of the suffocation is the worst
like
part.
choking, drowning, like just I don't know, any type of suffocation. Like pretty much what the Shy is going to experience when he lanes versus Shanji. That's pretty much my biggest fear, is being on the receiving end of that Shanji rumble. That's my biggest fear.
Me can't lane, me run bot, get 4 kills, I'm useful. Yeah, good job, Shanji, good job.
Yeah, that's a Giga Chad way to play the game. Instead of, I'm going to just TP back to lane
when
and wave clear.
When the Shy ults your front line, flashes out, and then TPs behind your back line in the same fight, you're screwed.
Okay. All right.
That's what you'll see. That's the Shy tech right there.
Who do you like more, Yamato? Break the difference. Are you a Shanji fan or the Shy fan?
Yeah, actually, whose side are you on,
I think for the sake of the show, I should remain unbiased to let you guys go.
That is such a cop. That is such a crazy cop out, Yamato. What the fuck, man?
How is this fun if I begin to pummel on Caedrel too because I like OMG more than Weibo, you know? Where's the fun in that?
Oh, so then now you've already... Okay, so we know where you are. We know where your allegiance lies. To the sack, baby.
Come at me, like Weibo week 1, you know? JDG versus Weibo, that was a good game. That was some good shit. The Shy was gaming, you know. What was that other team that they played against that was at the top? I think it was Weibo versus Bilibili. That was a good series too. But then Weibo have some porky shit games. I don't even know.
Let's not worry about that. Hey Dom, can you remind me who did OMG lose to recently? They got 2-0'd by them. I swear they're not in playoffs. I think.
I think they're one of the best teams in LPL right now. The TT, the Goats, that almost beat LNG this morning.
Yes. Oh yeah, TT 5 and 10. That's the team that. Oh, my bad. The team that's eliminated. Oh my bad. Sorry. No, continue. What was? Oh
yeah. No, that's unfortunate. It's like Weibo has just never lost to any bad teams, right? AL never took games off Weibo. Weibo's just been good the whole time.
Bro, don't worry about us. Yeah, get in your lane. Yeah, get in your lane, buddy.
Boys,
don't worry about us.
Boys, I think we need to answer some serious questions here. The question is, what happened to T1? What happened to T1? What's happening to T1?
Ooh, Dom's probably got a lot to say, so I'll go after him.
Dom.
I mean, I don't think that much is wrong, honestly. I just think all 5 players are completely fraudulent. I think that the players should have. I just wanted to reaction. I mean, it is what it is. I think if you want my honest take on T1, I think that the repeated losses, outside of just the fact that Faker's injured, they weren't playing that well when Faker was back. I think the repeated losses in big moments has made the team lose confidence on some level. I think the players no longer believe they can win, and there's a ton of pressure on them all the time. And obviously, the narrative of being a choker is something that weighs on players heavy. It's one of the worst things you can call a player is a choker. You know, you could be like, oh, you're shit, whatever. They would rather be shit than be a choker, because choker insinuates some level of mental, just that you're a bitch or something. You can't rise to the moment, or you get flustered by pressure. There's something that's really tough about that choker label. And I feel like the team is just playing worse as a result of just the buildup of, negative finales to their seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like they've definitely been grinded away at. I don't want to speak for their mental health because I have no idea, but I mean, that many losses in a row definitely takes a toll on you. I don't know. The thing is, I don't think that obviously their spring was fine. MSI was a bit of a shit show, but their summer was also kind of fine. You know, they were competitive against GENG. They beat Hamalife. It's like they got stomped by KT, and then everything just fell apart. I don't know. When I watched their games recently, I don't know if this is happening a lot more overall, but recently, Owner never really passed for bot that much, I think. Owner's pathing has just been really weird to me the last few weeks, where he's leaving his bot lane. They're playing Ash Brown into Nautilus with a 30 CS lead, and then he just hovers top the whole game, and his Ash Brown's being dove. I think the best forming player is definitely Gumayushi, I think. Keria and Owner, to me, just look like they're completely disjointed, playing different games, and Zeus is in his own world. And then once you also lose your primary, I don't want to say shot caller, because I'm sure Faker talks a lot, but I don't think he's an IGL, you know? He's not micromanaging 4 players. But definitely losing that direction from mid, obviously made everyone fall apart. So I don't know. They play against Nongshim. I think is it tomorrow they play against Nongshim?
Yep, they're gonna get their asses beat.
If they lose to Nongshim tomorrow, I can tell you, like, LOL Park is gonna be surrounded. Like, the trucks are gonna be flying. If they lose to that last place team, which they almost lost to already with Faker, I would say that they're done. I think they'll make Worlds still, because the top 5 right now, I think the competition is literally just KT, GENG, Damwon, Hanwha Life, and T1. That's basically it. The cutoff after that is pretty big drop. So it's 5 teams, 4 spots, and I think Hanwha Life is gonna fuck it up somehow. So I think T1 should still make it, but like if they lose to Nongshim tomorrow, that's it. They're a mess.
Yeah, okay. What is the point situation in terms? Did they still have the regional finals after playoffs, right? Is that the system that Korea has, right?
Yeah, that's the one that DRX made last year, where they beat Sandbox.
Yes. Okay.
In that 5-game series. So they'll have that, yeah. But I mean, to be honest, I don't know. This team, the thing that I would say is they need time, but I feel like they've had enough time already. So Faker will be back. I think he's like back not this week, next week, late next week. But I don't know. Bengi stepped down like 2 hours before that game.
This is the craziest part for me,
which
man.
I don't get that. That's the one thing where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's not even a day before their game. It's literally like hours before. So I don't know how it happened there.
If I view like this whole T1 process, I feel like they really leaned into the idea of this team being very player driven. And I think that, like, obviously I'm speculating based off of the information we have from outside, but I feel like the stubbornness and their lack of awareness of the opposition they play against is very, very evident in the way they prepare for games. I had first-hand experience, right? When we had them in our group at the World Championship, it's like our first game, we have Aatrox, Poppy, Azir, and we drop bot and get Lucian Nami. Like, any sense of research against us would clearly indicate that Lucian Nami was like the best thing for us to play. We got Poppy as well, and there was this element of, like, I get the impression that sometimes the layer that coaches provide is to make sure that you don't run into the fallacies that some players come with when it comes to draft preparation, and also having a sense of humbleness in regards to who the opposition that you play against. From my experience, it's always the same conversations with players, like, oh, this guy's not good at this champion, we should play against it. But you need to pull that back and rein that in order to really be fair in your assessment of what your strengths are and what the opposition's strengths are. And when I think of like T1, it's like, I feel like they've always been either they figure it out on their own, or they assess the situation of what the meta should be by the time where they lose against it, rather than paying attention to what is happening all around them. I take the GENG as an example, right? It's like they came into that final, and then after the game 1 and 2, they were like, shit. It's like the whole meta is about revolving around playing around bot. Let's try to adjust to it, and they were just way too late. All of a sudden, Zeus is playing Sion, and it was like a look of theirs that just didn't really make sense. And I think if I look at some of their finals in terms of their preparation, in terms of how things have played out, and also in regards to the fact that they've had 7 coaches in 2 years, kind of speaks to this idea for me that, you know, this is just a player-driven team with strong individual players at times, but in terms of what their preparation is and in terms of what unity is when players are individually underperforming is not there, because they're so reliant on just individual performance. That's like my read on T1 in terms of how it looks like from outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree, and that trend has been going like this year as well, through game and through draft. I think a good example is like MSI with the Nautilus mid and Kindred. As much as it was a meme, like they just kept going until they finally realized, oh, this is actually, maybe we shouldn't play this. And then the same thing happened like in their KT series, where they were playing like Kindred and Kha'Zix and stuff, and bad jungle matchups. They were like blinding Renekton to Gragas, and like top was completely nullified. Where I put something here? Yeah, the Nongshim game. There was Ash Brown that I was talking about, right? Where like the gameplay situation is like bot is stomping, and top matchup is Sion into Renekton, and my jungler is hovering top the whole game. Like, this Ash Brown is getting dove against Poppy Nautilus, when if their Ivern was there, I can tell you that this lane is completely stomping. I don't know. So they have like this. I definitely think they have like this stubborn idea of when it comes to certain picks or drafts, that either they're playing and or enemies can play that they know they can play, but they think they can beat it. When in the first place you could just remove it, so you don't have to like even think about trying to beat it. And then once they try and beat it and they lose, they try and beat it again. And then they realize like, oh yeah, maybe we should ban it. It's definitely takes a while. Even like in the finals, World Stage, they just gave Aatrox over.
They gave Aatrox over, and in that series, they also gave the Heimer Varus in game number 2. And I felt like based off how game number 1 went, like they completely stomped DRX game number 1. Why let them play something that they're super comfortable on game 2? Like you could go into that series, you knew that the entire tournament, Beryl was playing this Heimerdinger. Like they're playing Heimerdinger Ashe, Heimerdinger Varus. They're really comfortable playing that. Why not just remove what they're best at and play a different game? So I think that's definitely something I agree with. At MSI, there was also the them being stubborn with the pathing. I mean, Owner once again was pathing top every game, or he was pathing bot like a lot slower. He wasn't 3 camping into bot, and BLG was just diving bot repeatedly. Like every single game, BLG was getting a bot dive off and killing them. So I think that both of those points have been like made evident over multiple tournaments, and it's been a long time. I mean, even in the GENG series that you mentioned, the finals, like Doran plays a monster Gragas game 1. Normally Doran is the worst player on GENG. Just take him off the one champion that he's performing on. I feel like it's very easy to do, but they seem to have quite a bit of like draft ego and pathing ego.
Yeah, I also think like the number one thing Owner did last year, as much as it's something that you could be like, well, it's an outlier. Every other game or so, his number one pathing was like 3 camps, 4 camps, lane gank top. It was like so common. They always did this. In like last year's top meta, what was it? It was like GP, Gnar, Camille, Jace, Gwen, stuff like this. And he would always like hover on that carry side. I feel like his tendency is still kind of there, even though like nowadays, I feel like it's ever since Gragas top came meta and like Sion has come back and like Ornn is playable and Cassante was like released and stuff like this. I just feel like top is just a bit of a dog roll again. You can't really play like old school last year, like Camille Jason, stuff like this. Renekton's kind of back, I guess, but even in that Sion game, like he's hovering top for no reason. I don't know. He always has been a top side player, I think, Owner. Which is coming back to bite him a bit.
No, it's very strange. It's like when I think of like T1's best version, like when they were looking like really strong, was in spring when they were playing like the fucking range AD carries in support. Like there are moments where the insanity of what they are doing like makes sense, but as you guys also mentioned, it's like the level of stubbornness in the continuation of that, and then sometimes losing themselves, because like Gragas was like Faker brought it out first, and then they let go of Gragas, and Gragas was so strong for so long, and it's just that like I just see so many player fallacies in terms of what their issues are, because I recognize it from my own experience fighting against that when you are working with players. And it is strange because the list of coaches that they've worked with, there's like some legendary people in there. It's like, sure, they did the whole roster swap thing, which was mental, like with Danny and so forth. It's like they had Coach Kim, who has like a reputation about himself in terms of, you know, he worked at IG, he like was at Longzhu, right? They had some coaches with legendary passages didn't play out and didn't work out. And obviously I'm not privy to inside information, but there is, you know, there seems to have always been like this contention. And then as you mentioned, it's like Bengi leaving. It's like I can't speak to why he left, but there was like, for example, when I wanted to get out of Splice, right? It got to the point where I felt like I no longer impact the group and the dynamic needed to change. And at that point, I felt like I was not effective. And I think from a coach's standpoint, when you don't feel effective and you don't feel like you can impact individuals or the group dynamic, this is when you want to step out. This is, of course, purely just a guess, and maybe this is the state of mind Bengi is in, but maybe there's something deeper in it, because it was just so sudden, you know, just a day before a game is crazy.
Really, like 2 hours before the game, the announcement goes live. It seems really insane, and just like the way that they played that game, it was really strange. I mean, even from the first game where they play like the Renato Lee Sin and they go for this really awkward bot dive 3v2 where the crashed like 10 seconds before they were even there. That just felt really off, because the one thing that T1 always had was mechanics. Like they would play situations out well, especially early game. So watching them do that in real time, it's like, are they like prepared for this game, or is their mind just, you know, somewhere else?
But they also had moments, I don't know if it was LCK summer or spring last year, where they like, when was it that Elise was meta for like a couple months?
Right.
Like set
spring?
mid. Was it spring? I don't know. When this champ was meta and like Talia was meta, and like you had these champs that could just roam bot. What was it? It was like Talia, Annie, stuff like that. Set mid. Early spring, I think, was this year. Bro, their bot dives, crystal clean. It was perfect. And then when they don't have like the actual proper diving bot champs, I feel like sometimes it just gets way too messy.
I'm looking it up, but there was also the Galio. There was a lot of Lissandra played.
Oh yeah, Lissandra as well. Yeah, when it was like Lissandra, Lee Sin, mid jungle, like face roll kind of. Yeah, I'm looking at the owner now. I think it was spring for sure this year. But that was when I was looking at T1 and I was like, yeah, they're pretty good at like bot time and stuff. And as much as they didn't like catch up the GENG towards the end of the split, I just think I don't want to say that their meta read was off, but I think you guys are right in saying like their idea of like denial champs and or like blinding certain champs against players who are definitely capable of countering it was just a bit unnecessary and like easily avoidable.
The Aatrox thing as well at the World Championship, that one is so like I understand where it comes from, right? Because it's like inherently their draft idea was that they actually gained value off of 1-2 by giving up Aatrox, and Zeus could play into Aatrox, but it got to the point where my man had to drop, didn't get to play Jax, and everything that he prepared for the Aatrox specifically, he didn't get to play. At one point he's playing Gwen into Aatrox, which...
But Gwen wasn't even super meta then, was it?
Gwen was... It's like... Gwen lane phase got really, really nerfed, and the only way you had a chance against Aatrox was that if you ran Ignite, but that made you so much weaker later on, right? And they just got to a point where they no longer got value, and they stuck with the idea that the truth was that giving away Aatrox is fine, but inherently it was only fine because they traded it for something. And as things developed, Aatrox was still the same champion throughout the entire tournament. So it just has been very strange to see the development. On the other side, Caedrel, considering now GENG is 10-0, right? Their match record is really insane. I have to admit, I've missed a lot of the GENG games. Have they gotten better in the concepts that they were lacking in regards to MSI, or have they just continued with the same kind of idea in mind? How different do they look?
I think the number one thing that's changed for me with GENG is Doran's just gotten a lot better. Like, this guy is like able to play Jax. Like, Renekton is really good for him. He was like, his Quinn's been a bit grief, but like his Jax Renekton is like what he's been playing a lot. And like he even played like GP as well, and he was solo killing, I think, too. Doran's turned from like this Gragas tank bot to like an actual lane that they can play through pretty easily. So I think top change has been really big for them. Apart from like one game where he played like Kale, which was the most useless thing I've ever seen in my life. Don't let him pick that champ. But like I actually think top has a lane to play through. And also, I don't know if people sleep on Pace, but he's definitely one of the best like in the world. Like that guy is so fucking good. And I think the meta is really good for Delight right now. I think like that guy, now that you've like removed Lulu and Yuumi and like these range support stuff, like Delight has always been like this engaged support player. Like I think he's got most played Rakan, and I don't know, meta's coming together for them well. Doran stepping up and this like improved a lot, I think.
Okay.
So I think GENG is a bit stronger than they were in spring, personally. But I think the biggest surprise to me was like KT is turned the whole ship around. Like they lost to T1 in that 5-game series. They've come back, bro, and KT is looking good. But I don't know. The one reason I can not really believe in KT half the time is because of Cuz. Back to the original question. Yeah, GENG is definitely stronger.
Okay. I have to say, 13-12, I'm kind of fucking happy with 13-12. I don't know if it's like the whole idea of how shit 13-11 was and the patches before that in terms of how similar everything was, but I'm quite happy with 13-12. I feel like just like the AD carries, everything makes everything so much more dynamic in regards to just Kaiser being played and Millie Supers being played. It's just so much more fun to watch. How do you guys feel in regards to development of the meta?
And don't get me wrong, like just the thing, like Delight was also like decent range sport player as well. But like I think if you look at his engage enjoyer, but I think it's just the game is just way more fun to watch with engaged sports. I don't know about you, but like dives are just more prevalent, I guess.
I personally like Sejuani, Maokai, and Yuumi Lulu being traded with like Sivir or Zeri. I think that's my favorite meta to watch. I haven't seen enough of it is the problem. You know, like I just need to see more Zeri, Sivir, that type of stuff.
I like Jinx into Sivir. It's good.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there's
I like the way they clear waves.
It's like a fruit bowl. Like we just like a fruit bowl with the Yumi fruit and the Jinx fruit and the Civi fruit. We've just watched it from the same perspective. Maybe we need to twist the bowl around. Maybe there's different elevated ways of playing
all right, Gilius,
the matchup.
relax.
I think maybe there's more depth to it, and I think that we should make a stand to make sure that these champions have accurate representation.
Does anyone else just miss Zeri? Like, we haven't seen it for like this whole patch. Like, I don't know,
bro. How much?
Emotional.
I think the game with like Ashe, as much as like watching good Ashe players like Autospace is always just such a treat. I don't know, like seeing Ruler and Uzi and all these auto-spacing clips and stuff on Ashe. It just looks so much more satisfying than a Zeri auto-spacing.
No, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Zeri's always been just broken in some way. There was always just some way that it made it look extremely unskilled to play against. Either it was too tanky, or the W did too much damage, so, you know, they never really had to go in. Or, you know, they have too much sustain, or they scale too well. That was just always a problem that made it seem like, oh, once it gets to a point, there's nothing the enemy team can do. So it's one of the worst things to watch. But I think 13-12 in general is just, it's nice because I feel like there's a variety of styles you can go to. You can play mages mid, you can play poke, you can play full on engage. And I always think the game is best when there's multiple different styles that are available. So that there's that you know, mind game in draft. If a team goes for, you know, an early Azir pick or something, you could play the Jace Maokai into it. If they're playing engage, then maybe you could play a disengage comp. I just think that there's like levels to draft then, instead of it just being like, these are the most OP champions, both of us want to do the same thing, we're going to like trade off the OPs, and then maybe 4 or 5 you have one pick that will give your team a little bit of flavor.
No, for sure. Same way for top as well. Like we get to see all flavors of it. I feel like Renekton being in the meta opens up so much more. It's like the go-to blind is Renekton and K'Sante, and I think the angles that you can take against those champions in particular are like so different. Mid-meta, even though it's been the same, I largely don't mind. I kind of like seeing Annie, Ahri, Jace. I think these champions are super interesting. It's like LB is a little bit overtuned, but generally speaking, I think these champions are very dynamic, and you can clearly see the expression of skill. It's like, well, when you watch an Annie, as silly as it sounds, you can clearly see the good Annies and the bad Annies. There's such a wide contrast between it. So I'm quite satisfied with mid.
I think 13-13 is hitting everyone around the world now. I don't know. LPL had some issues.
I don't know if it is. Mark.
I've heard that it's actually like going to be rolled back potentially.
Yeah.
Really?
Like a global rollback to 13-12.
They're talking about.
I'm not sure.
This weekend, I mean.
I've heard it's a potential global rollback to 13-12.
Yep.
Oh shit!
I have on good account that they are considering 13-12 for the LEC. Because apparently.
Way to find out, Caedrel, right here on the podcast.
I had no idea. What the
just blindsiding you right here. Get ready to fucking learn 13-12, buddy.
So basically,
the bugs are... all the points you have thrown out the
bug list. The bug list is mental. It's like some minions don't show up. Some skills are invisible. You lag,
everything's invisible.
And if you pause and reconnect, shit becomes invisible. The stutter lag 13-13 is a mess.
What the hell? Bro, 13-13 was where it was at, no? Like static shift nerfs, all the junglers nerfed, Lee Sin, Nidalee buffs. Like, bro, I thought this is where the jungle spy starts to come in. Bro,
13 had all this 13-13 prep, and now it's just all doomed.
Well, no, it's not like that big of a deal, but I'm just kind of like, well, I guess Ivern and Rel are enabled, so I guess there will be some change, which is good.
Yeah. There's also, it's like 13-12 was the big ass patch, right? It's like with Milio, Yumi, Lulu.
Was that the Aphelios nerf though? No, it's not, right?
Aphelios nerf is 13-13. Like
but that's the Gale Force nerf, right?
And also, like they reduced the slow duration of his Gravitum. They reduced the lifesteal of spells when he has the Scythe. Like they nerfed him pretty heavily on 13-13.
Yeah, that's 13-13. Yeah, so he's meta, but that's the Gale Force nerf patch. So that's like
that too. Yeah.
The people playing Ezreal. I was watching like Spanish League last night where they're playing like Ezreal Nautilus against Saya because they don't want to play any Gale Force champs, and people are telling me this item is dog shit.
Yeah, Navori, like it's kind of weird. I know that you talked about this a lot, Dom, because you mentioned it. It feels like everything is so driven by which items are powerful. It just has been so true ever since the Mythic. It's like we had this. First, it was the Gale Force Stormrazor, and then the Kraken became visibly OP. So Zaya was the strongest, and Aphelios was the strongest. And then now we're moving into like Navori territory, static shift territory, and it's just like the items dictate what should be played. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad. Like, because what is the contrary? You know, what is the opposite? Because I don't remember. Like,
the champions' strength dictating what is played in the game. Like, it just being about what champions are strong as opposed to what items are strong. I mean, I guess it's give and take. I'd rather just see everything not be like I like playing League when I feel like I'm playing different champions instead of playing different items. But I feel like now you just play items like hardcore. Whereas like Static Shiv, Static Shiv, you're just playing Static Shiv mid for your Static Shiv. You don't give a fuck about what champion you're playing. Like you just abuse whatever is really OP to like such a high degree that I don't think it's healthy for the game. I don't know. But maybe that's just from a gameplay perspective. Like I personally enjoy playing champions more than items.
I'm trying to like remember back what it was before. Like I'm trying to remember times where things were driven by items. I remember like there was some AD carry metas that were like that, but really far back when like BT Last Whisper was like must buy no matter what. But this was like season 4. I'm trying to remember back at like pre-mythic what was going on, and then it was more like champion specific, like 2019, 2020. This was. It was a little bit more dynamic, and it was more champion based. If I try to remember like 2020 World Championship, 2019 it was like Zaya,
2020 was like the Senna, no?
Senna 2, yeah. Was it 2020 Senna was played?
Yeah, it was the Reckless Top Esports series, remember, with like Senna. Was it Ash as well?
Yes.
With Yanjia just running it down completely.
Yeah,
what a series.
That was a good time.
Good times. Did they see they released the DRX behind the scenes of Winning Worlds documentary today?
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's 50 minutes long.
Did you watch
skipped
it?
through it a bit. No, I joined like the LoL Esports live thing towards the end. Bro, I'm sure some people probably would watch this by the time it's released, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but like the game 5 before they go to game was complete respect to their coach. This guy, like, as they came back, he said, when you come back after game 4 and you win this and you go to Silver Scrapes, like, I have a plan, right? And when you come back, this plan is going to win us, like, the tournament.
Holy shit.
And they came back and he said, look, like, this is all on me. If we go up there and we lose, I'm taking full responsibility. The players are, like, laughing. They were like, we can blame our coach if we lose, la, 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 la. The coach's like, don't worry, this is my plan. Like, you can hear some of the game stuff where he's talking about, like, range, Azir, like, we need to play some, like, range things. And like this guy owned it. He went on that stage with all of his players convinced that if they lose this world final, it's because of him. And I think that like that mentality was fucking cool to see.
And
then you also get some insight on the Bard pick, which was like really insane. You know,
nice.
Wait, can I say what they said? I mean, I'm sure you'll watch it, and it's like goosebumpsy anyway. But they were like, the coach was like, Nautilus, and Barrel was like, no, I think Bard, and they had like 4 seconds, and Def was like, I guess we go Bard then. And then in hindsight, they were like, the coach in hindsight was like, well, I was seeing the game from a very meta-heavy point of view, but Beryl was looking at the game far in advance from me in a different way, and he was correct and had more hindsight and more like projected
foresight.
Foresight than me. So, bro, that's a really good documentary. I think.
Wait, was it Song, the coach?
Yeah, it was Song.
It was Song? Nice, bro. We get to see him if he can work a masterclass today.
Damn.
I don't know how much you've been following
LCS.
FlyQuest. They're 3-9 right now. They're on the verge of not making top 8 and missing playoffs.
I mean, I knew they were losing, but bro, what the fuck?
To be fair,
they just benched Vikla. Vikla, they told Vikla it's time to learn Portuguese, and they're sending him to CB LOL.
There's no way. Oh yeah, they're 9th. Wait, they're 3 wins, 5 losses. What the fuck? 5 wins, 100 teams?
The craziest thing, they went 3-0 one week, and then every other week is 0-3. That's like such a mental statistic.
Yeah.
What hell?
I mean, I think the other thing about their standing is they're 3-9, where normally to make top 8, you only need to be about 5 wins, but there's a bunch of teams already at 5 wins. The league is a lot closer in the middle of the pack than it used to be. So yeah, I mean, there's a realistic chance that they're just going to end up not making it. They probably need to win at least 3 out of their next 6 to even have a chance at a tiebreak.
What's the level of the LCS like? Is it good?
It's like, really good. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's like better than the LCK, I would say.
You're such a fucking troll. I think I've watched like 1 LCS game or 2, because like obviously if I wake up at like 7 or 8 a.m. to co-stream, and LCS for me starts at like 11 or 12, I see like hardly a game. So like I have no fucking clue what's going on.
I can give you the honest answer. I would say C9 is decent. I would say Golden Guardian is decent. EG is decent. I think the rest of the teams are kind of wonky. Like there's some players that are like placed on these teams where you're watching them and you're like, why the fuck is this player getting paid? It's like,
Yep.
It's like you have some like the bottom teams. It's like, oh, this player is good, and then he's getting griefed by this guy, and it's just like a battle of raging dragons. You know, it's like, oh, this guy does something positive. Well, haha, let me show you how I can sink the ship.
Just getting targeted.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So, I think the best summary of LCS was from Gilius, who said that essentially what happens every single game is that 5 people versus 5 people, they're all just running around in circles. And then the one player who has the biggest balls on the day just engages, and whoever engages first just 5-0s and they just win the game instantly. That's how LCS is.
That's my kind of League of Legends right there, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we watch it every week, man. That's why Yamato and I are on the grind.
Yes,
I would join you, but I'm not allowed to.
No, it's a good time. It's a good time. Just take a different identity, man. You need to make maybe a fursona. Maybe like a...
I thought Pedro was the alter ego.
Hang on a second. How did you go to first Sona so quickly there, Yamato? That was a quick transition, bro. You had that.
Have you seen Yamato?
Let's talk about that for a second. If you got like Yamato Tiger.
Now, mate, like I'm watching
Yamato
RNG.
takes off his shirt. He's already a furry.
Honestly, I've trimmed it. I started getting this issue where my hairs on my chest were so long, so they started sticking out of my clothes. They just found their way, like roots coming out of the pavement, you know, like a flower coming out of the pavement. It's just pushing out through my clothes, and it would get like stuck. And then when I would take off my t-shirt, I would rip off my hairs. Just
you're like Wolverine.
Yeah, it's a mess, man. So I trimmed it.
So you don't need a costume, is what you're telling me.
I don't need a costume. Yeah. No, I thought of Persona because earlier today, RNG, like these LPL teams, they have these mascots, crazy mascots. I think that if
are the mascots furries or
no, they're wearing like a bear suit that's basically a furry, right?
Okay.
In some shape or form, or do they need to look like foxes?
I think
I don't know what the rules are.
I'm not a big furry, you know.
All right,
but I'm just gonna say, you know, any animal counts.
Okay.
So with fur, I guess.
Pedro sounds.
Yeah, animals that don't have fur, those ones don't count. Like those animals, we should just. Mass extinction, you know.
Well, you can't be a furry if you're a fucking. You can't be a furry if you're a fucking dolphin, can you?
I mean, maybe. Who knows? I don't know how dolphins get down.
Maybe the next LPL game there'll be a dolphin dressed up for OMG. You know what? We'll consider if that's a furry.
OMG dolphin.
OMG dolphin.
OMG dolphin.
I think it could be that, Dom.
Okay, I could be that.
I imagine you're relatively hairless. I don't.
No. I'm actually not. I've got like fucking body hair, bro. I don't know. It's a thing. I got Hispanic
genes, anyone here that's not is hairless, it's me, bro. Okay. I can't even grow hair on my face. It's a horror. This is 2 weeks, man. Can you see that?
That's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll see shit, man.
No, okay, I have Hispanic blood, so the only place I can grow facial hair is just like this area. I could just grow this, but it spawns in like the goatee. The mustache spawns in literally like 3 to 4 hours. Like I shaved right before this. If I let it go, like if I stream LPL in the morning and I don't shave before LCS at night, I'll start looking like you'll understand why my last name is Rivera. That's all I'll say.
Holy moly.
Okay. Yep. Just the goatee. Just the goatee.
The mustache is the fastest. The mustache is fucking
if
crazy.
OMG lose first round of playoffs, no shaving for a month. Thoughts?
The thing is, number one, that's like you haven't shaved for a month already, so it's not even that's not even a bet. Number one. Number two, I have like the fucking most disgusting mustache ever. Like mine, it just looks horrible. I just look like I look like a criminal when I start growing out my facial hair for some reason.
I like
it's just instant, like it's like patchy, like it looks.
You get locked up for being an OMG supporter. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Boys. I wanted to bring a topic to you guys, which is so we have Astralis, Vitality. They fucking got eliminated from LEC. I need to move this to LEC a little bit, you know, because
Vitality's not out yet though.
Yeah, yep. But let's just focus from the format standpoint, right? They're not out. I know that Dom had the beautiful tweet that actually summarized Vitality's situation in a very, very good way. Actually, I believe I saved it here. I'm just gonna. Can I pull it up on the
Holy,
screen?
you bookmarked it?
What the fuck? This production. Yamato produces. Production.
Well, I need to print screen it, and then I need to put it on Imgur, and then I need
Why
to
don't you
download
remove
it.
Imgur.
From your name and just stop putting random words there like Yamato producer, Yamato furry, Yamato
DJ Yamato.
DJ Yamato. Yeah.
All right.
DJ Yamato.
I have it on the screen, but the quality is terrible. I'll just read it. It seems like people are confused as to how Vitality can still make it to season finals. Vitality needs 3 out of 4 of these to happen in order to make it. XL doesn't make top 2. SK doesn't make top 6. Fnatic doesn't make top 3. And Team Heretics doesn't make top 3. That is pretty damn good odds.
So the XL not make top 2, which is like kind of likely at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They need SK to not make
certain.
top 6. So they need SK to lose their BO3. They're against Fnatic, and if they lose that, they're against the loser of Mad XL, I think. So that's plausible. They need Heretics not finish top 3, which is also plausible, and that's 3 of them already. What was the fourth one?
Fnatic not getting top 3, which is
That's
pretty
probably
hard.
happening.
That's probably happening. But like the other 3, I would say are unlikely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I think
SK
I
win one series, GG.
Yep. If SK win one series, it's GG. Unless Fnatic just crash and burn. But then, like, the thing is, if Fnatic did crash and burn, then it probably means that XL or Heretics is doing kind of well. In which case, they still wouldn't make it. So.
But SK is against Fnatic as well, right? So if SK win, they are pushing themselves into top 6, and Fnatic's on knockout best of 3. So it's like a good and a bad omen.
The craziest shit that like I'm curious about Mad Lions, right? So I believe Mad Lions could become very good with time because they've shown so, but they broke through the BO3s in spring like by the ass grass, you know. It was fucking, there was a flash
by
away.
the ass grass.
Like my man Sivir couldn't fucking and finish it, you know. He couldn't finish the job, and it's like Mad Lions losing and falling out early would be such a detriment to the teams that are actually trying to qualify, because Mad Lions has enough points to be through, and they already won a split, right? So that is something that could also mess shit up for everyone involved. So everyone's incentivized to make sure Mad does good. Woo! Which brings me to the topic I wanted to breach. Basically, this format is mental, right? Like, I'm quite happy that I got to view the format from an outside perspective. Because in my mind, when I this format, I heard rumors about it in the previous split, and I was quite unhappy with the format when people presented it to me. It's like, yo, this is what's gonna happen, and I'm thinking to myself, super week after super week after super week of BO1s in a lot of cases is such a it's like fake intensity, in the sense that you want to reach top 8. But you limit yourself so much in terms of your time distribution, in terms of progressing as a team. So all of your work needs to happen before a season. So it's like my approach right away from the bat would be, we need to make sure that we reserve 1 month before the BO1s happen, because when the BO1s start going, we're not going to basically have time to adopt or like adjust anything with only potentially 3 scrim days. It's like my idea would be, we're going to have 2 break days where players are going to spam solo queue and basically set basically like goals for what they want to achieve and what we wanted to work on. And then I would basically turn the game days into full ass work days. It's like, we're going to scrim in the morning, and we're going to separate that, transition that into the B1s that we're going to play in the evening. And then we're going to make sure that our work days are actual work days. But nevertheless, it's like, in terms of what the format represents, my take is that I think the BO1s, this is where the biggest coaching gap can be visible by far. In any format ever, I think BO1s show the biggest coaching gap. And I wanted to hear you guys' take on the format in general, and also what I just said, if I'm crazy or if you guys agree.
I mean, I guess for me, the biggest issue that I have with the format is, like, it does feel exhausting at a point when you just go into like triple splits. I mainly felt this between winter and spring, where it's just you have like, you know, all the hype going into the winter finals, and then there's like 1 week off, and then you're in the spring situation again, and you're just you're grinding again. And I think that because everything feels so important, it like loses the hype in a way for me. So I think I would like a combination of like this for maybe half the year and then the old format for half a year. Obviously, this will never happen, but in terms of like my viewing experience, I started to care less about these like mini splits as time went on.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a bit. Not so much the format, but the coaching situation. I think it's like I think meta read is like everything for sure. Like if you have like a really solid meta read and one team is like dizzy for 1 week, then you're obviously losing like 2 or 3 games out of 9, which is obviously like 30%, and you're screwed kind of already. Like for example, Mad Lions won 4 games in a row, you know, everything was good. They just transitioned same stuff over.
Yes.
Then they lost 5 games in a row. So now it's like, well, if you reverse that, the amount of pressure they're under in that last week to make sure they get things right is crazy. But the fact that they actually got the week 1 correct and like played well, they could kind of cruise, and those 5 losses in a row don't really matter much. And it's kind of the opposite for XL, where they had no clue what they were doing, and they finally got it together. So it's such a short amount of time that having the correct meta read or like idea of how you want to play the game, even if it's just one dimensional, is kind of everything. I think that does come down to coaches for sure. I think there's definitely like angles in best of ones where people draft the most wacky, outlandish stuff, or like things that could be easily counterable if you practice it enough. And you either go into the weekend preparation of like, we're going to play to counter, I guess, these 3 teams where we're going to like have certain picks ready for them, or like, you know, if Astralis or Blind picking something crazy, then you can counter it against Leader or whatever it may be. Or like Nuke's going to play as control mage, how do we play against that? And you have like styles against certain teams, or you just play your own game and just like plug and play champions to have a similar composition like BDS did in spring to win the whole split, you know, like to win the regular season, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment of like coaches have a lot of impact in the sense that 1, they can win a best of 1 with 1 good draft. They could also lose a best of 1 with 1 bad draft because, you know, you have some games where the draft is just completely unplayable. I remember there was one game where they like last picked Nautilus into Braum Trundle. I don't know who the hell did that, and then they just instantly lost the game and realized it was a bad idea. I don't know if it was XL or something.
I remember that game.
You remember that game?
I remember that game, but who the fuck did that?
I think it was XL. They like last picked, or they like blind picked Nautilus into Trundle, and they had Braum last pick ready. I want to say it was G2XL. Yeah, it was G2XL. Trundle Braum, and they blind picked Nautilus. I'm just like, how the fuck? I mean, I get it. You're picking like Nautilus into LeBlanc, like it's some form of lockdown, sure. But you're playing like they're playing Draven Braum Trundle against Nautilus.
Yeah.
Like you can't
that was a mess.
So you can have some games where definitely like you can fuck the whole draft with 1 pick if you're the coach. But then again, like I think some teams, like the players are kind of drafting for the coaches sometimes, and then like a lot of the scapegoat goes towards the coach. But I think everyone being on the same page for like 1 identity is so important.
Agreed, yeah. It's weird because I think now more than ever, it's like the conversation really needs to happen in regards to what players, like what is an actual off-season about. Because I think for the majority of teams, an off-season just means a fucking long-ass extended break. But in reality, it should be... It's like you need to build up what your team is before the split starts because of the elevated intensity. And I think for the longest time, it's like if you boot camp over in Korea or in China during the World Championship, you can get scrims against a lot of LPL teams and LCK teams that are just actively practicing because they view it through the lens of, this is a great chance for us to improve. It's like how many stories did we hear of, we are preparing for the finals, but actually the best team in the world right now is fucking Griffin. We're scrimming against Griffin and they're smoking us. And they had fucking no stake in that tournament at all. They just had the incentive to get better. And I know, Dom, this is something you mentioned a lot. It's like, and I agree with this sentiment completely. It's like, we're not going to scrim now because the patch will be different. But the game has been relatively the same in terms of what the basic foundation of it, what it is for ever since Damwon won the World Championship. And then there was like some minor changes along the way with elemental rigs, whatever. But the core idea of like how the macro game should be played out. And we can look at, for example, EDG versus Damwon, that finals, and take away fucking wonderful things that apply to today's games. It's like those things are not outdated at all. So this idea of how you use your preparation in off-season is so damn important because I started looking into it. It's like, what is the reflection of the teams that are not doing well in the BO1s? It's like, how did they actually use their off-season in preparation for it? And it's like, you can find stories in the solo queue games that even the players play. It's like, what are you doing with the month in preparation for a split? And I think that's like crucial. And I think the teams, for example, Excel and Team Heretics, they had heavy incentive to pour in more time. And I think it's very evident that they had a sense of identity that they wanted to play towards. And I think that carries you in the BO1s. And then when you get into the best of threes, you begin to see that the individual qualities of players matters more and more, because the teams that have better individual players actually get a chance to adapt. Because even though, like, for example, Koi looked bad in week 1 and 2, I think week 3 Larsen completely popped off. I have faith in like a player like Larsen and Comp to step up and actually like deliver when it comes to like deeper end, or for example Mad Lions, in terms of their individual players. When they have time to assess what the meta is, things will be better and better for them. And I think in regards to the teams that always drop out, it's like looking at Vitality as the example. I don't know what the fuck was their prep coming into the season. Because looking at some of the solo queue accounts, maybe they have hidden accounts. If they have hidden accounts, I apologize for pointing this out, but the preparation wasn't there. I think there was a story of, I remember like Bo was streaming all the time, Champions queue, solo queue, he's always online spamming the shit out of the game, and that's where he was mechanically good. And then all of a sudden that was not there anymore. What was going on? And I think that conversation of what your preparation is and making sure that players are sharp coming into something, it sounds like I put Bo on blast, but if people look deeper into things, you can see the pattern of many players not doing the appropriate preparation coming into a season, and it just being so damning because you can't catch up. In the past, it's like, oh, we started 0-3 in first week, we'll catch up, we'll be fine. It's like, how many times did Fnatic start bad or G2 start bad, and these teams started bad and it just didn't matter in the long run. But now it's like, oh, you're going to be in the bottom too. Yeah.
I think that comes down to like complacency or like lack of direction.
So I blame all of the coaches. Well, if you're a coach out there and your team went bottom 2, I blame you.
I mean, that's how you're going to get the YouTube clicks. You just need to title this, Caedrel calls out Vitality coaching staff. Boom.
Hang on a second. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. It's clickbait. It's clickbait for a reason.
It's true. That's basically how clickbait goes. Yeah, I mean, I think you're alluding to a lot of correct points, and that's why I just said, I was like, is that coming from like lack? Is that like complacency? Is that like lack of interest, lack of drive, thinking that things are doomed already? Or is that like lack of direction from the staff and like lack of things to work on in the off season to actually make sure they can cover like the holes that they had in winter and spring? But I mean, Vitality is like the what is it? The thumb sticking out or something is how you say it.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they finished like pretty decent in spring and winter, not like the top is where most people expected, but you know, they were in the top 3, top 4 weekend, weren't they? They just got smashed by Mad.
Yeah, in spring they were, yeah.
In spring, yeah, and in winter they were placing decent in regular season. But then to finish 10th is like pathetic, to be honest. And I don't know what that comes down to, but the fact that they had the biggest thing that annoys me about that is they didn't go to MSI. They had so much time to like do anything. Take a break before the third split, you know, have a couple of weeks off and then get back on the grind. Maybe grind even harder. You know, all the teams are all the teams are my brain's went blank. And all the teams are at MSI, like the top 2 teams, you know, like Lions and G2, whatever is like the tournaments in fucking Europe. You can scrim whoever the hell you want. Like practice if you want, take a break, like do something. I don't know, but I felt like they just came back and they looked like shit. And I don't know, even before the split started, you see like people saying in these pop quiz things, like, yeah, Photon's the one of the best top laners. That guy's getting solo killed randomly. You see like people saying throughout the whole split, like Vitality's insane in scrims.
Yeah.
How the fuck are they insane in scrims? Like, what the hell's going on? Is it a collapse on game day? Does things just change last minute all the time? Did they not do enough off-season prep? Like, because behind the scenes, it sounds like things are decent, but then it never translates stage, which is just wild to me. Whereas, like, on the opposite end, you have, like, Mad Lions, who finish 8th, they win splits. Everyone tells me that they're shit in scrims, or a mess, or useless to scrim, or, like, they don't play as good at all. Then they're on stage and everyone's losing to them. And I'm just kind of like, well, you've got yin and yang here, complete opposites or whatever it is. And I always wonder, like, how does Mad Lions make their scrim quality better if they're this good on stage? And how does Vitality make their stage quality better when they're this good in scrims? And
swap players. It's the only way.
just mix and match.
Yeah, just mix the players up and see what the fuck happens.
Just mix and match. But yeah, that's definitely 2 sides to the LEC, which are the extremities. And you have, like, everyone else in between.
It's like the crazy thing about Mad, right, is that they've been shit in scrims for 3 years. Bro, when they were winning back-to-back splits, they were garbage in scrims. It's like they were so trash in scrims. And I heard from Humanoid after that the most amount of growth that they make is really not from scrims. They just sit down and they review like LPL games
RZ
together.
fanfic or oh, never mind. You're going a different way with it. My bad. Continue, Yamato.
They review like the two Korean games, the LPL games, and that's where they make their progress. Because it's like when we were scrimming in preparation for the finals, we had to play Rogue and then Mad Lions. This was in summer. And we got completely barbecue smoked by Matt. It's like we were playing a different game, and their idea of what macro is was just much better. And Humanoid really proved that point when I got to work with him the next year. But in scrims, they were so fucking bad. It was unbelievable. Like I'm pretty certain that we didn't lose a single game against them in maybe like 6 days of scrims in total. Like they were so shit. Insanely shit, and it's been true for 3 years. It's definitely like interesting in terms of where do you find progress and where can you like actively find ways to improve, because I think a lot of teams just scrim, go through the motion of reviewing, and then that's it, when in reality there's many ways of getting better at the game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I know from talking to a lot of players and just like interacting with them on streams is the way that players and teams watch like LCK and LPL, I think is probably the most useless way, where it feels like players are overly fixated with item builds and what the best players are playing, which I think is almost the weakest part of LCK and LPL compared to like what the teams do as a whole. Like when they get around an objective, how they control a Drake fight. When you were talking earlier about you could go back and watch EDG versus Dom 1, the finals from 2021, and you see the way that these teams are playing around Drake and how they set up vision and, you know, what timings they base and, you know, which waves they end up, like when they end up pushing the mid wave, when they end up disappearing onto vision and just taking control. It's a completely different game, and it feels like that is like there's not enough like group VOD reviews from what I can tell when it comes to teams trying to improve.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes you notice it in like Western games where, how do I like phrase this? Maybe the structure or the idea or the theory that they've learned to apply either doesn't work because like some variables happen where like, let's say someone gets chunked or they like lose a mid wave that they rotated for, or like there's a side wave pushing, and then people try to overcompensate. Like one guy's just like, okay, I'm going in, or like one guy's just like, fine, we'll start Drake, and like Drake's resetting and they have good position to go mid, but then they leash it anyway and like pull it out for the enemy team anyway. Like I feel like sometimes they overcompensate or overthink in certain scenarios where like plays are going good in their favor, but then someone just thinks that it's either bad and or it's not going according to the way that they think it should, and so then they try to like throw something random into the works, if that makes sense.
Can you elaborate a bit further? I don't think I'm catching your drift.
So let's say like a very good, like a dragon fight, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say like the theory behind it is like let's say you don't have side push, you know, your Sion's catching on bot tier 2 on blue side, he catches the wave and he's like moving mid, your AD carries your space, you're all coming out mid, your goal is to like push mid here and like fight for Drake.
Yeah.
And like in your mind, they're going to fight you on Drake, right? Like you're probably going to 5-5 this Drake or whatever because it's like your soul point, let's say. The enemy team steps up and like they're leashing Drake on bot side because you went through mid, they went through bot, let's say, with side push. And they're on bot side, you're on through mid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like they're leashing Drake, and they're obviously leashing Drake because they're on a timer. But instead of playing with that timer, and the Drake's like perma resetting in their face because they're like forcing themselves to try and do this. You don't like catch the next mid wave, you just leave it. You're just standing off for like 10 or 20 seconds. Or you, instead of going towards mid wave, you then like pull out the Drake again because you think like, oh, it's like 8k, maybe they're going to try and finish it. Whereas I feel like you've got like so much time to just think, you know, you're like, nothing's happening. We can chill. Like we can go push next mid wave, or like we can have someone run it down mid and even give up this Drake, you know, let them have it. We're on soul point. You can have first Drake. We can take a 2 towers mid and then catch top wave or something, or push top wave in and take your top side with deep vision before Nash. Like it's always like a one-dimensional set outcome. Yes. That when other variables are possible to make the play better, they tunnel vision on the idea that they had at the start. So instead of letting them have that Drake and getting something else, or going to the next mid wave and coming back and being patient, they like choke themselves in situations where they like leash out the Drake to force a fight, which they could have just avoided because the enemy's in a bad position. You can capitalize on it, or they just like randomly engage because they think it's a dragon fight, you know. So I think that they like tunnel vision to this idea of like, because when you watch like Eastern regions, it's very common sometimes where instead of it just being an all-out brawl engage, which sometimes happens, they sometimes just drop objectives, these top teams, and they're just like, you know what, we're on soul point. Yeah, we could have a soul point and like fight the next dragon and get soul, but you could also just like murder your whole top side, take 2 towers, and like threaten Nash on the next reset, right? So in terms of steps ahead, I often see times where the setup leads to a possible good outcome, then there's an even better outcome, but then they stick with the first option. That makes sense.
I get what you mean. Now it's very clear. It's like the amount of variables that teams and players pay attention to are so limited that it leaves little flexibility, because it's like the basically the checkpoints that you do in terms of the information that is available to you is so limited to a simple factor as, do we want to contest this Drake? Yes. Rather than what is the enemy offering in exchange for over posturing for a Drake, and pay attention to all variables like, oh, this guy just base, maybe we should react, or like this guy's out of position and let's just break this guy's ankle. They're trying to over posture for our position, and we find the angles. Because it's like when you see the setups for LPL teams, it's like, oh, they pay attention to the flank. There's always a pink ward there. Someone is posturing forward, trying to break the fortress position. They're always making sure that the flank angles are postured for. They are actually like posturing forward to create space, and the variables are so evident and clear.
Yeah, I mean, the opposing team will always have somebody mark the flanker. They'll like choose the best of them to mark the flanker and like force the person off the flank. I mean, they're playing a completely different game.
And sometimes these teams, like in the Eastern regions, will just say, you know what? We're fucked. Like, it's gone. Have it. Like, and they just give it, you know. Oftentimes they overforce, but there's also examples where they're just like, you know what, this position's bad. Like, this situation's horrible. Like, they've got deep vision on our bot side red, and like someone's threatening like their top laner to flank us and shit like this, and they'll just give it and like get mid and top wave and just sack it, you know. It's basically like a good analogy for people at home. It's kind of like, the way I see it is like, you've got the guy by the neck, right? And instead of breaking his arm, you're just going to punch him. And I feel like they've got them by the neck so they can choose whatever the fuck to happen. And so like tunnel vision to this idea that the dragon fight is the outcome. And I feel like this is where quote unquote good macro comes in, where it's like when I was a pro against like G2 in 2019, 2020, I know it was like 3 or 4 years ago, so maybe it's not as applicable. When you go into a situation against like the peak of what Europe has had and you've like played against it, it's the same kind of scenario where instead of it being like you're the one playing against it, right? So you're the one on the bot side of the map thinking like, we're going to fight this Drake, we're going to leash it, but they're just choking you mentally. Like sometimes they don't even give you a fight or even entertain the idea of it, and they're like playing on 2 lanes already like that. And then when you think you're retaking 1 lane, they're all standing in that lane even though you thought they reset. And it's like, I don't know, they come up with these ideas that are like 3 or 4 steps ahead that you think are in the long term better for the outcome of the game, rather than looking at the short term wins, which you think are just expected to happen because they're just so common in scrims or solo queue or whatever, that you never really think, oh, they can do that, you know? Which is why I think like the Eastern region is just so strong. Also, I think their AD carries, like, I think AD carries in the last 10 years has progressed from I will do as much damage in this team fight and stand behind my front line to I will engage and I will be a frontliner for my team and I will min-max micromanage my movement in front of all of their team to force them to engage on me and blow summoners, or I will take your whole fucking life bar and like take an objective from it. Like these Lucians and Aphelios and Zayas, and I'm seeing the LPL, are playing mid-waves like they're a 5-man unit, and they are so in their face that you either engage on them and take the dare and you lose the fight, or you have your AD carry do the same thing, because I feel like AD carries are frontliners.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%
I mean, one
agreed.
conversation that Yamato and I had earlier today was about, like, we were watching the BLG game, BLG versus RNG, and then, you know, we've watched a lot of the LPL games recently together, is that the frontliners are, there's way more push and pull, where the frontline will step up, they'll use a rotation of abilities, they'll absorb a certain amount of damage, then they'll back off, wait for like cooldowns, and they'll re-engage, and they'll just pull people around the team fight, where it feels like frontliners in the West are so committed to fights. Like, they go in and they're in, and if they die, they die. You know, like, they're not being able to like walk forward at an important timing, like on a tether with their AD carry in order to, you know, allow their AD carry to hit. And then when their AD carry has cooldowns, or they've like taken enough damage, or they have a key ability that's down, they'll back up and they'll play this like push and pull really well in the fights that we don't see. So like, I mean, these are just all situations that I was trying to bring up as things that I think would be like, obviously you can't get, I mean, if your AD carry is not a mechanical god, you're never going to be, you know, as insane as like Jackie Love right now or somebody. But I think that these are things that you could work on as a team, or there could be more group VOD reviews that would be more fruitful than playing like game 5 of scrims where people are just like running it down. Or like maybe this could be done on some like other days, because right now I think one of the biggest issues with LEC format is that there's still a break day, and then there's 3 scrim days, and then the other days where you have LEC, it's such like a chore to go to the studio and everything for one game. You don't necessarily get like a good block of scrims, or teams are worried about being potentially tilted for the stage game if they have like a rough, like a real scrim set. Yeah, I mean it is, but when you hear about like how teams are doing everything, like you think about an LPL team who goes to the studio. You know, I mean, right now, obviously, the schedule's insane, but normally they're playing 16 best of 3s. They can go to the studio twice a week and get in, 3 games each time. They can get in 6 games. Whereas, like, every single LEC team has a full day gone, essentially, every single time they have to play a best of 1.
Yep. No, it's like, to elaborate, it's like you have to travel, you have to prepare for the travel, and you have to wait. And sometimes there's even delays. And then after your match is played, you have to do content because they don't want to pull the players in the middle of the week to do the content. So all of that fucking filming and the 1v1s, that happens after the games. That's why the players sometimes look depressed as fuck, because they just lost the game and they're like, you want to do 1v1 against this guy and talk French? Here you go, mate. And you have to record that right after the fact. And of course, Riot and LEC they want to make an entertaining product, but it's like you have to invest a solid like 5 hours in playing 1v1. That is like me being like fair with time as well, because shit can get worse. Those kick cap pauses, they can hit you like lightning, and sometimes the games are bangers and they go to 50 minutes, and definitely sometimes there's been days where that's longer. It's definitely like a big fucking time investment to play a BO1 for sure.
Yeah. Also, like Asian Baron starts, bro, their turns, I love them. Yeah,
I mean, their turns are good, and they're way more comfortable finishing the Baron, like being like, we're going to combo abilities and finish the Baron.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I feel like... Oh, you go ahead.
It's like the idea of 50-50, I've been shouting at this idea on my screen for so long that it's the myth. It's like, if you have 5 members hitting the Nash together, fucking make a number up and count it. It's like T1 did this so good. I think this was one, like even last year. They were so obvious, they're just saying a number and comboing the Nash. There's no 50-50. Like, it being 50-50 is such a like myth that the junglers have, fucking appropriated. Obviously, it's not only on junglers, but to coordinate that together, you are clearly at an advantage when
yeah, I'll tell you, it feels like a 50-50 when you're playing an LCS game, and I assume it's the same in LEC. It doesn't feel like you actually have an advantage if you have people there, like, zoning or, like, being able to, stall or, like, allow you to smite. I mean, half the time I play jungle, you're like, having to just tell your team, just let me smite it. Just don't burst it at the end, please, because there's some, like, natural... like inclination that AD carries have to do as much damage to the Baron as possible in like the last 2,000 health.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Patience is a beauty.
Just to underline like everything that we talked about, it's like you can find the footage. It's like I could sit for 1 hour and see how the best teams prepare Nash, and I'll have 30 examples very, very fast, because it occurs every single game. And to sit down and really, really crunch that down and apply that and make that your own, rather than trying to like reinvent the wheel through your own scrims, this is so much more fruitful. Like it will take you so far. It's like I still have like old presentations of how Damwon like won the world championship in 2020, because they're still relevant to this day. Like I think the main advantage Damwon had over everyone else was that they had such good awareness of which space is important, and then when like they played the Syndra or they had the mage, they always had the Syndra at the prime position in like this arc that they always built in terms of how they control space, and then whenever Syndra walked up to EQ, whenever she had cooldowns, they just backed up, gave a little bit space, and then they played around the CD and controlled and managed space so beautifully. And this is like relevant to this day, and it feels so strange. Because to extend that to like champions is like, I think the point you made about, Korea is playing this, let's play this. It's like the conversation is, why do they play this? How do they play this? It's like, Lucian Nami is such a good example. It's like everyone, they won lane with Lucian Nami, and then they fucking do jack shit with it. And I remember it's like when we were preparing, it's like the only reason we and Fnatic, like back in 2022, were good at Lucian Nami, because we actually sat down, we looked at V5, because they were like dominating regular split, and they played like Lucian Nami really, really insanely well. Every time the motion was, they made sure they have full vision around mid, so the jungle could peace out, and then Lucian Nami was leveraged to create information through the pressure they create from dashing forward. And then the jungler just paired together with the side laner to pressure to side. And then they made sure they had just had vision around mid, so Lucian Nami could dash on cooldown, dash on cooldown. But then you see these other Lucian, and then you see these other Lucian Namis, they're fucking not doing anything like this. They're fucking just oinking on the wave, standing there like, look, I can't dash, I don't have information for it. Yeah, it's like, come on. Like there needs to be a process of really sitting down and actually finding that information and making it presentable and digestible for teams and players. I think it's
agreed.
It's like additionally, I think a big advantage that I feel LCK and the LPL has is that they have to spend so much less time dealing with actual bullshit. Because you both have been players, I've been players. It's like, you know, the fucking bullshit you have to sometimes deal with on the day-to-day in regards to your teammates, someone fucking being tilted on the day, or someone saying it's like a shit day, or someone like...
Didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah, it's like the amount of bullshit you have to deal with, and the level of tolerance for that, and how much effort and energy you need to put in to make sure that everyone's aligned of what the vision should be is also like just such a core thing that is holding things back.
Yeah, agreed. There's always that, I don't know, it's like maybe once or twice a week at best, like all 5 players are ready. You know, it's like all of them are like, they slept well, they ate, they're not tired, they didn't stay up too late, they didn't lose solo queue games, they're not triggered, they're not still like thinking about things that happened yesterday, they're not tilted by the scoreline of last weekend, they're not like, their girlfriends aren't fucking tilting them. Like, there's so many things like that happen on daily basis pros where, and then they int, and then like they shouldn't be inting, and they're inting in winning matchups, and then because they're losing their winning matchups that you drafted for, the whole game's lost, and then you're sitting there losing scrims because one guy just can't focus or something.
They're getting one guide. It's so crazy.
Literally getting one guide.
They're literally getting one guide in scrims.
It's a classic. And then the 3 scrims just played are useless, and now this guy's woken up, but the other guy's tilted that this guy didn't wake up for 3 games, and now I'm playing game 4, and enemy team's pissed because we're taking too long, because he won't get his shit together or their view's taking too long. And now they're so bored because they're beating us so hard that they're trying things that are useless that we're never going to play against. And now we're playing against these champions that we're never going to play against, and maybe we're going to win or lose, but who cares anyway, because the practice is still useless. And this is just a chain effect of like teams sometimes where I don't know.
So Caedrel also played with Piglet. That's crazy. I never knew he played for XL, but apparently like he had a stint over in Europe. I stopped following his career, you know, after he was in NA Academy. So makes sense.
It is weird because I think the bottom line is there's so many things that you can prepare before scrims, because scrims should be there. Like you should have the goal to perform in scrims. I like when players are like sure, maybe you can make like some kind of separation where like the first 3 games we're playing to perform, and then maybe the second half we're looking to maybe try an idea that the player had that he presented. It's like, I want to play this champ together with these champs, and I think this would be good, and I think we can use this as a counter to something. That could be like completely fine and dandy, but I think a lot of things that can be figured out ahead of scrims are being figured out within scrims. Whether that is like, oh, I did a pathing error and my bot got dove, so this scrim is over. Or, oh, my bot lane did a 2v2 all-in level 1 because they thought they'd win. When in reality, this is something that they could easily figure out ahead of time. And it's such a waste of time of like, how many people are involved in like a scrim set? Fucking 15, 20 people sometimes. It's like you just wasted the time of everyone. I think this is where so much more can be done, you know? It's like so much preparation can happen ahead of scrims, so you actually use scrims to test a valid theory that you came to as a conclusion through valiant like effort and preparation, rather than, oh, we're in scrims, let's just throw something at the wall and see what sticks, you know? So I think that's where like a big waste of time happens and occurs. Like something that I noticed with LPL teams at the World Championship, we always played 3-3-2. After the first 3 blocks, they would come into the second block with like level 1s prepared specifically for what we showed in the first 3 games. Just to keep that muscle like active for themselves, you know? Like they would analyze like we noticed this pattern. It's like they would fuck us for how we would stand level 1, and they would apply this actively in scrims. That's the extent that they would just look and do things with intention. And just that's like such a minor thing, but it shows the idea of what they're trying to achieve out of practice, you know?
Yeah, I see that.
And
that's something replicable on stage if they're griefing like that, right?
yeah.
In a 5-game series.
A theory that I wanted to run by you both, because I have you both here, is I feel like whenever a team wins the World Championship, I feel like the teams that are actively looking to contend the next year actually put in time to study the previous World Champion. Do you guys get the same feeling, or am I crazy?
I would disagree for last year. In previous years, I can see it.
Yes, that's such an outlier case.
Yeah, in previous years,
Did they actually win Worlds? Like, is Pioshik really a reigning world champion? The guy that I watch every single week, he's the reigning world champion. Beryl is a reigning world champion. We have to accept this premise. I'd rather just deny reality and just pretend like these players didn't win Worlds.
Honestly, they played Worlds is only on one patch, so can you really?
Yeah, exactly.
Even say
doesn't that on the meme even better evidence that it was only one patch?
Well, Caedrel, the thing you have to understand is that in order to win the LCK, you have to be the best team on every single patch, as opposed to just Worlds where you only play it on one patch.
Valid, yeah.
Are you looped in on this schedule?
Is this a meme?
It's a meme, yeah.
Yes.
No,
the nutsack reference.
Yeah, I'm just sitting in my scrotum.
You've been sitting in your scrotum.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go over it again. I think you looked at the last like anatomy image and you still don't have it. So
I don't know where I am, bro. I'm lost in the source down here. I don't know what I see a fucking ball sack. I see a nutsack. I see it.
Yeah, no. Wolf said this about T1 about like how the team that wins MSI is not necessarily like the best team in the world. It's like because to win LCK you need to be the best team on every patch, which is just not actually how the LCK works. If you are familiar with the LCK format, like you could be the worst team qualifying for playoffs, and then you can be the best team on the playoffs patch. So we always reference this.
So is that like they're the best team in the world on that patch, but next patch,
so that's pretty much what we say. So like if when LCK wins another international tournament, if they ever do again, I will just start referencing that they were just the best team on this patch.
Yep.
It's my new cope.
Bro, you're
What, man?
You're so fucking funny, Dom. Never change. You just fucking go in.
Dom,
it is what it is.
Dom,
it's just a streaming persona. I'm not ill. I promise.
I'm doing the host thing. I'm bringing you back. I'm doing a hand motion. You guys can't see in the camera, but I'm lasting you in.
Okay.
The take of the studying of previous world champions besides the RX. Is this a trend that you've noticed yourself, or am I being crazy?
I think there's sometimes where there is and sometimes where there isn't. I mean, if you look at like 2019 when FPX won, it felt like some teams adapted that, but I think a lot of teams also thought it was mega fake to play like Nautilus mid and stuff. They just viewed it as a FPX specific thing. So I'm not sure if I think the teams took inspiration from Dom 1 specifically. That was probably the biggest one where I felt like a lot of people were just like, this is what we're modeling our team after. But outside of them, I don't, maybe like early SKT. I don't know if the other ones like IG, FPX, EDG, I mean, even like DRX, like I don't think that these teams had had other teams, model themselves after.
I would say like from my experience, it's like there's set plays that happen in the finals which can be replicable. Like I think you can't really take. I mean, maybe towards early stage MSI meta can be, you can still play similar kind of style champs from what was played at Worlds. But like I think set plays like Damon's Herald setups in 2021, even though they lost the finals, were fucking insane. It's like a small example. But overall, I think it's hard to translate anything other than just like set plays and objective setup. But that's all I'd say. But I also think it's not just the finals. When I was a pro in 2019, 2020, we looked at like 2017 semis and quarters, or 2018 as well. And in 2020, we were watching like 2019, some random teams in like quarterfinals and semis from like good setups that they had, and just trying to replicate that, because the best League of Legends you can go off in current time is definitely domestic leagues, but like international, highest stakes in terms of League of Legends, some of the setups are a little bit different and replicable in terms of what they did. And I think metas shift back into similar scenarios, like what was it? Was it 2016, the Ardent meta?
2017 was Ardent.
2017 Ardent meta. I don't know. Things like that. I think metas go around, like things always come back. Like tank metas come back, tank jungle metas come back, support range champs come back. And you can like zoom in on what happened in the year that it was prime meta or the World Championship and try and see what they did against it, and counter it. Like, for example, Ryze mid was meta in 2018 or something, wasn't it? And then or 2017 and Malzahar was like the counter to it, and everyone in 2018 was playing Malzahar because Crown did it into Ryze in the early stages. I think there's like counter picks that happen at internationals that can work. Like if range support meta comes back, then maybe Heimerdinger's good again, even though people won't be playing Heimerdinger for a few years when it does come back.
Oh, that's fair. I guess that to the point, it's like there's definitely champions of tournaments that are just really, really specialists in terms of what the meta represented at the time, right? I think for example, coming into the World Championships 2018 when IG won, it's like everyone thought that RNG would just win that shit. But then everything shifted, and the big fucking slam patch of Aatrox, Urgot, Irelia, and Akali being like the most broken champions in the game definitely put like a spin on like what RNG needed to be, and they couldn't be in regards to the opposition. Because like walking into that tournament, IG was hype, but it's like the finals against RNG, it didn't look like RNG was like, oof, RNG is the team to beat, especially after like the fucking MSI victory that they had the same year.
I didn't follow 2018 that much. I feel like ever since I stopped as a pro, 2019 onwards, it's like I can remember basically everything. 2018, 2017 meta is a bit of a blur.
Okay. So you one of the guys that after not reaching playoffs, you just took a fat vacation, Caedrel?
Shut
Jesus, bro, you just had to do them like that?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I was playing in 1920, man. That's what I'm saying. In 18, I was just...
Yeah, you were playing... Yamato, he played for at least 6 months of the year, bro. What are you saying? Like, get it together, man.
Bro, dude, Astralis, man, now, last week they were out, or the week before, what is it?
Yeah.
That's 1st of July. My mens have 6 months.
That's crazy.
6 months, bro. Full paid. Bro,
yeah, that's chilling.
Like 3 months Bacardi's on the beach.
That's mental. It's like it's weird as well, because it's like looking at Astralis, it's like, what do you do with the roster? It's like
the best roster they've had in years, pretty much.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck do you do? Where do you go with that? Because it's like if all players have the buy-in to make a commitment to the next year, you can put in some fucking groundwork right now, But if not, it's such a waste of time. It's such a weird, absurd situation. Because they shouldn't take 6 months off. Like, that's a joke,
Yeah, they should definitely start earlier, or like maybe boot camp in Korea during Worlds or something. But like, because of Asia Games, Worlds is pushed back a week or two, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the World Finals like November 20th or some shit like this.
Right, and normally scrims start happening for like LEC teams December 1st, don't they?
Which is ridiculous.
So like roster locks are gonna be a fucking nightmare if an EU team makes quarters or semis. Like, it's gonna be a fucking shit show.
I think that's what makes G2... Like, I have faith in G2 just because of this. Because it's like, I was at the World Championship. Like, last year they were at the Worlds, right? But 2021, after they didn't qualify, they were scrimming all the Worlds teams. And they were alone, if I remember correctly, in terms of the Europeans that were just active, They were making roster trials, they were actively practicing, and then coming into the next year, they won Spring, even though on paper I didn't think the roster, like especially the bot lane, just didn't look impressive enough for me to actually believe that they would win, But they won because of the preparation they put in ahead of time. And they did fall off, but it happened way later. And that's where like everything caught up. Because we started scrimming like 1 week before Spring started, and that was such a bullshit cop-out. And we were just like fucking bleeding, and I had to fucking... just put flex tape on the whole team for the whole year, It was terrible, like a crucial mistake. Terrible. Vitality, what changes are you guys making? Well, who are we keeping? If they don't make Worlds, they don't make some super miracle run. It's like, you guys have the GM keys to Vitality. What the fuck are you guys doing with Vitality?
I'm kicking the coach first.
You're keeping the coach, okay? Coach
No,
Carter.
I'm kicking.
Oh,
I'm kicking the coach. I'm firing him. Yes, he's done. He's learning Portuguese first. That's absolutely true. So I think that if you have a super team and like the team, just when you look at what the expected level of the players are, and they play this far, what's wrong, Yamato? Come on.
Oh, really? You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
I was just sniffing my mustache. No, go continue.
Oh, it's sniffing your mustache. All right, okay.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, you're different, man. You're different. I just think that the coach can't continue because it didn't feel like they had any identity. When you look at Vitality, they just looked like they weren't able to close out games. Their macro was bad. Every single dragon setup was bad. They didn't have early game plans. You just don't see any impact of a coach in their gameplay. So I think it might not be that Coach Carter is a bad coach. Maybe it's just that he needs a different type of team. Maybe he's not good at managing superstars or the players with egos. Maybe he works better with rookies where he needs more buy-in to whatever system he runs. Maybe that could be a thing, but I think the coach has to go.
Can I ask a question before you carry on?
Sure.
How much impact do you think a coach has on that Vitality roster?
I mean, I would assume that the right coach. I think that it's about being useful where you need to be useful. I think you need a grabs type of coach for that roster. You need somebody who's going to put his input and in specific times, but then if just not be too hands-on with everything. I think that they need some guidance, some direction, and then you need to be there in times of need. But it didn't feel like Coach Carter had buy-in from the players. So I think that you need a coach with a name as well. It can't just be oh, this is Coach Carter, and people are oh, who are you? You were the coach of Misfits for a little bit, and I guess I think that's just either way. I think that if a super team fails, the coach is never coming back, especially this degree of failure. So that's number one. I don't know what Perks' contract is because it's not as simple as is Perks good enough to play? It's what is his contract like? Are you going to be bleeding too much with his contract if you don't play him? Is he just going to be somebody who's sitting on the bench and then you're paying self-made and you're paying Perks a ton of fucking money? What is going to be the situation there? I think Photon I would keep, and I would keep Upset, and then the rest of the team I'd be willing to get rid of.
I'm in exactly the same boat. If I was stuck with the Perks contract, I'll float the idea of using the switch to support cheat code for the man.
Yep.
Because I think that well is gonna dry up soon. There's gonna be a sea of players coming from other positions willing to play support. I think that's gonna happen in the next years, and there's gonna be a bit of a evolution in that position, because I think that Chico will be slowly gone.
Yeah. I would import support. I think I would get a Korean support with Upset, keep Photon, and figure out the mid jungle situation. But it's also really hard to say, because I guess if you contextualize the question with you can cut everyone's contract and lose no money, then it changes the whole sphere of the idea.
Yeah.
But if it's you have to think of this as a business standpoint as well, then it gets to how much are you paying players? How many players can you sell? You need to, because they've got 9 players signed, haven't they? That's ridiculous. Even Neon's been put into academy, but God knows what his contract's
self-made.
I hope to God,
our homie self-made.
Self-made, Bo, Douglas. I don't know what's going on with the contracts anyway. But yeah, support or mid is what I would say. I don't know. I think you need to import one more on that roster, to be honest. And then for mid jungle, it's just a case of having the right people around you to watch and look at the right ERLs and or depending on the free agency situation. Because there's also an argument to say I could import support with, let's say, mid laners becoming free agent this year, where VTO's contract's up, for example. That makes life a little bit easier. But then, if mid lane contracts are not up this year, then you have to import mid or support contracts this year, right? So the business side of it's kind of annoying in terms of what kind of market are you looking at for certain roles.
Okay. Yeah. The strangest thing for Vitality always was, you guys both touched on it, is just I felt I think if I try to piece together with the available information, which is let's say 10% of everything that they've done, it's 10% is what we see in the games, and then 90% is just hidden, right? It's just I think Coach Carter did a very good job. I feel he has a very good read of, I'm just basing this off of what Misfits was, very good read of what makes you steal games in Europe, how you should draft in order to really capitalize on the weaknesses of what is European League. I think that's
okay. So let me tell you, I'll be Coach Carter. What you do is you draft a tank top, a mage mid, A jungler that is just useful, that has abilities, and then a strong bot lane with like a hyper carry. Boom! I solved European League of Legends. There it is. Am I Coach Gardner now, or is there more to it?
No, there's been moments where there's a little bit nuance, but you definitely hit the mark. and I think that was often like that idea of what that is was often clashing with what the players you have at hand. And I think that there were moments where like the games that Vitality won were through individual skill or through just like big draft gap. I think those were the two things the way they won. I remember like that G2 game that had like the Cassio pick, and then the enemy had like Udyr and some other crap like Hisante, Udyr into Cassio, and then like they had
went off on Vi,
Ashe and Varus, and they had the bow like really popping off, right? And like those are the ways they were winning games. And then I feel like somewhere along the line the individual skill wasn't there, and then also there was always this clash of should we do what we see other teams do in Europe and what works in Europe, or should we actually work with the players we have at hand? And I think that identity really needs to be solidified before the split starts. It's like you play one game, they played like Kindred, Milio, Gwen. It's like, what the fuck is happening? And then they fuck up one all-in level 3, and then they never pick Milio again. They say, fuck you, Kaiser, you're playing Milies for the rest of the shit. And then it's like, you played this Kindred game with the Gwen top, and that was like a rough Kindred game to play across the board. Okay, you're playing Maokai for the rest of the season. It's like, it just seems so sporadic and indecisive, you know? So... that one is tough.
I was thinking in my head while you were ranting, like, what names would I put in? You know what I think could, I don't know, off the top of my head, something random I thought of was like, bring Sven back from an A, get him with upset bot lane, and just fucking sign Closer from Sandbox or something. Have Closer.
I thought you were gonna say yourself. I thought you were saying, you know what? There's a jungler that could get the job done.
Oh god no, god no, definitely not. I do always think that like support has been a really annoying one for Europe. I want to say.
Boosted role.
I think top end is good, no? Mickey, Hilly, Trimby.
Yeah, top end is stacked. Yeah, Mickey, Hilly, Trimby, and even Kaiser when he was in his prime was always.
Yeah, wasn't
stacked.
Kaiser supposed to be one of the best?
Yeah, Kaiser was back in the days, but like I think mid to bottom tier teams have just been cycling through supports a lot of the time. And there's never been like that next name that's broken through. Whereas like jungle, for example, you had like Yankas Proxa. That's like the top of the table, and Caedrel. No, I'm kidding. And then like Inspired and Yoya came along, and they were like supposed to be like they're sick as hell, and like then they started fighting for the top of the table. And Razor came along, and like I feel like the jungle pool got contested quickly. Mid pool got contested with like Caps Perks and like Humanoid Larson coming in, and then VTO coming in winning MVP and stuff. And like the roles were stacked, but also names slowly came in to replace them. Support, I think, has just been Hilly, Mickey, and then Trimby, and then Kaiser's 1 year. And there's never been like that, that next support coming in where it's like, holy shit, this kid's good.
It's so tricky, right? Because I feel like support is a completely different role when you play at a high level of a game. It's just the things you need to consider. It's like when you look at ERL macro and the beats that you need to hit with support is relatively straightforward. When it comes to what you need to do in regards to like if you look at like for example the finals between like or like the BO5 between Mad and G2, it's like they're always considering the variables of what's going on mid. So I need to cross through the jungle. My jungle is going to cross through here. We need to take over river and then cross into bot. If I go bot straight, they're going to lose the bot situation. We're going to get dove bot because they're stacking wave. We need to break this wave. Or like, the enemy team is not defending bot tower. I need to base and play for tempo and make sure that I hit top as soon as possible. Like these things are not so prevalent in solo queue and also the RL levels. So it's like when you jump into the position at the LEC level, you just get fucking thrown into cold water most of the time, unless the meta is like, you have to play Nami, you have to play Yumi, just vibe and chill, you know? That one is tough.
Yeah, I just think, if you have a team and you throw Mickey or Hilly on it or Trimby, you kind of know what you're going to get from each one of them, You kind of know exactly what you're going to get. And I don't know, in the last few years, I can think of like Targamas was trying to get in there. At VN, like swapped with being on Fnatic, which is a big name, and then joining Koi, which is a big name, but nothing's really like stuck other than those 3 or 4 names. So I always think it's hard to find like scouting a good support. As much as your AD carry can like trial with him and say, oh yeah, lane phase is good. It's so hard to tell because lane phase is like 20% of the real battle, to be honest, in these days.
Yeah.
whether it's like shot calling, mid game, like vision setup, like how they want to play their champ, like flexibility from range to melees, their angles they find on melees, like their positioning on supports. Like I just think there's so much nuance to support that nowadays people just kind of lane with the AD with support. They're like, yeah, lane phase is good, and then that chapter is closed and they're signed. Even flexibility on picks, like I don't know, just degenerate like one tricks, like Hilly Pike, for example. You know what you're gonna get out of that. Mickey Brown is a classic as well. You just know. And as much as these players are experienced, they've been around, and like some supports are coming in. Like I think DOS is having his first year, and like players are trying to like get better and reach those highs. Experience is kind of a lot for support, I think.
Yeah, we forget about the DOS time in Misfits. We just memory hole that whole thing and just this is his debut year.
His debut year. Nope. Wasn't that the Misfits roster with like leader and like
I don't know what you're talking about. This is right here.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm talking about. Dan leader. Oh yeah.
Kobe DOS.
Was it Kobe DOS?
I think it was Kobe DOS, yeah.
Yep.
And
the
then,
whole
Denick,
thing was
Denick
it was after Denick.
Oh,
Denick got benched after like people thought he had a good split, and then everyone's like, DOS just got the fucking role because I believe DOS is Danish, right? And Kobe's Danish as well.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I remember. And then also like Denick, Rux, all these players coming in, people were like, oh, new support, never really stuck. I just feel like we're kind of like droughting out.
That's why, boys.
But our top ones are still good.
We need people need to role swap. They need to expose the fraudulence of the role. Really, it's like
okay.
It's like we need solo laners, that's better players to role swap into support. Genuinely, it's like
I mean, that's another title for your video. Support players are frauds. Send it.
Support players are frauds.
Boys.
Yep, and a picture of Carrier in the thumbnail.
Oh God.
Boys. This LEC bracket. This LEC bracket. Are you guys feeling that the results are pretty straightforward?
Oh yeah, I had a quick thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I remember you asked about the format before. I wanted to throw this. I think this idea was thrown out a few splits, like a split ago. You know how, like, let's say you're in one of the groups and you win your first BO3.
You should cross.
The cross thing, I think that's a really good idea. I think they should cross. If you lose, you should cross for your final BO3. Because otherwise, let's say, like, if you look in the bracket, like, let's say Fnatic beat SK, right? And they lose. There's a chance they just play SK again, which I feel like for the viewer is kind of like, you could say, well, maybe SK's leveled up. But if you just swap them over to the group and they play like Koi, that already makes it like, I feel like you get the best team, if that makes sense. Because of the short amount of time span they play against one another and thinking that Fnatic's going to beat SK, but maybe SK could beat Koi, So then if Koi goes through in the other group and Fnatic goes through in their group, you never really get to know if SK was good enough to beat Koi. So I feel like just swapping them makes it so you get the utmost top 6.
Bro, you got me cooking on an idea. Imagine it's just fucking, instead of double elimination, it's just triple elimination. And then you just squeeze in these BO1s. You just squeeze in these BO1s in 2 weeks instead. And like you just form groups where, let's say, like 6 teams get sent in to play, and then you get to play 3 games on one day rather than fucking 1-1-1, And you just fucking piece together like a schedule where you send in like 6 teams, and they just like rotate games against each other. Probably the math wouldn't like check up like
Jesus.
The math wouldn't
fucking
like
hot potato.
Yeah, it's just fucking it's like the same as the groups at Worlds, right? You have like fucking 6 BO1s in one day and all of the teams are playing 3 games each, You just fucking do that shit,
I think there should be 9 days straight and it should just be best of ones every single day. So it should just be 9 best of ones in a row over the course of 9 days, no scrims. See who actually holds up.
It's like a game of like a movie. The movie
Fuck
Saw.
It. Let's just have an international league. Let's just combine all major regions and top 3 from all minor regions and have like a 40-team league over the course of the entire year. Just call it the international league.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay. The logistics, Riot will handle it. Okay.
Yep.
I love
we'll
it.
sort it out.
Boys, LEC groups. Is there any game that's like, it's for me, I am assuming for you guys too. G2 beats Koi, easy peasy, that's been beaten to death. Fnatic beats SK. Mad versus XL, I imagine Mad is going to win unless Mad
Could
just...
be close though. XL finished 3rd.
Is it?
Yeah, I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
I think XL is is essentially the new version of Misfits from last year, where they figured out the formula really early, where they're just running like the same type of team comp over and over again. But I feel like in a best of 5 or a best of 3, they should be easy to prep against and like decently easy to expose.
I see that. Yeah, I feel like
I see that.
Excel is their knife isn't sharp enough to really make the game difficult enough for Mad to not like let them find composure in the game and like figure it out. You know. I
Also think Mad is just better in best of series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because they lost every best of 5 last year. But nowadays, I think like, I mean, they finished 8th and won the split, so they're definitely a best of series. They're just adapting, and they reverse swept BDS is another idea of good adaptation, like good mental in VO series.
How about that Team Heretics versus BDS? What you guys cooking there?
BDS win.
I'm on the
BDS win.
Heretics.
Okay, let's hear both sides.
I will never predict Evie to win anything ever. Just as like a rule, as a principle of mine, as a human being, I just will never predict a team with Evie on it to win any game, no matter what.
Yeah, we had Niski and Elioyo on Euphoria today this morning, and we were talking about this matchup, and Dracos was like, so, Niski, who do you think's going to win this matchup? Sell it to me in 2 words. And he said, Adam Evie. And he was like, yeah, BDS is going to win.
Damn.
So yeah, I think everyone's kind of doubting on Evie. Everyone's kind of like, I mean, you can see like this guy dies so much for no reason. It's crazy.
It's mental.
I don't know. I think Flackit VTO. This has just changed Heretics so much. I think their 2 carries are 2 carries that they can actually play for. And as much as Flackit's not like the lane dominant kind of guy, I think his team fighting has been good. His late games have been really good, reliable. I think VTO is like definitely grown to be the player from, or kind of the player from last year. And Jankos is Jankos. I don't know. I think this team is. I think a lot of people predicted Heretics at the start of the year to be a dark horse because of like the idea of Jankos and good carries, but the carries sucked, and now the carries are good again. So they're back on the dark horse train for everyone.
Okay. He's calling out our boy Jack. Are we gonna let him slide or what, Yamato?
Honestly, Flackit has been decent. Flackit has been decent.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points on the Heretics thing for me. Number 1 is patch change. I think hurts them a lot. I think that no Milio, no Yumi for Mersa. I think that's going to be rough because Heretics bot lane, I think that they just kind of want to bypass the lane phase and then just play in like mid game. So I think that will hurt them. And then I also just think that the team in general, their wins, like because they finished 4th, I think people have like a perception of them that isn't necessarily like accurate as to like how they played. I mean, if you just look at the games, right, you just look at specifically the game that they played against Vitality. I mean, they had a bunch of like fraudulent wins, I would say. So the game against Vitality, where Vitality, that was the Kaiser Hook bot lane with Nautilus, where they just lost the game instantly, even though Vitality should have won that game. Like, it was on the tier 3. It was the dive, like where they just instantly lost the game. So just remember that game. And then the time where they did play BDS, which is like, remember, they're only 1 game above BDS. The game that they played against BDS was the one where Adam was sick and Aggressivo subbed in. So I think that like these are like games where I feel like it's very easy for them to have just been like 3-6 or something and be considered a not good team. I think that when teams like have certain records, and one thing that I've learned from watching this format is that records don't mean like almost anything when it comes to the winter stage. It's like, did you qualify or not? I just think that BDS, they can really just make the game the way they want to play it. You know, ban the LeBlanc, like they'll ban LeBlanc every single game, and then they're just going to, you know, play Azir, Syndra, whatever control mages Nuck wants to play, and they should be okay.
Nuck. But I swear that Vitality BDS game was going to go the similar route. The Vitality BDS game, I feel like that game was going to go the similar route to like the Vitality Heretics game, where like Vitality's ahead. But then whatever happened on that Baron, bro, BDS were just like, you know what? It's a Baron clock, and they just finish it. 1-shot 3 people instantly, and then the game's winnable again. Yeah. So I feel like Vitality just it's a hard to go off, you know, games versus Vitality. But I don't know. I have this like gut feeling. I have faith in Heretics.
Right.
BDS just looked like the same team from last split to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Like they tried things like Nico and shit. Nothing's really floating my boat. Their game against Fnatic, they're not competitive at all until random Adam things happen. And I feel like they maybe rely on that a bit too much sometimes. So yeah, I just think they're the same team, copy-pasted.
So my take on BDS, I think Nuke or Bustanuk, and Adam, I think they are exactly the same players as they were before. I think the key change for BDS is just how shit Shio is playing in comparison to the previous split. Like, he seems so sporadic in his decision making, very poor, doesn't mark the dives, makes decisions that are very, very strange. They were so formulaic and systematic in terms of how they secured lanes and then secured advantages in bot. I remember like 3 games where Labrov and Crowny secured like cheater bases into and then defending the bounce where the jungler just needs to go bot and collect advantages, and instead he's fighting 2v2 on some fucking golems and dying for no reason at all. There was I feel like Shio is the main player to me that just makes me concerned about BDS in terms of performance, because I think if he does well, I think that BDS can get to the point where the weaknesses of Nook as a player and the weaknesses of Adam as a player can be hidden. And in regards to Team Heretics, I think that is where I see the biggest mismatch. I feel like Jankos has been very fucking good in terms of how he manages early games, and I think that Flacket and Matteo are better players at converting the leads that Jankos has been getting his team for the entire year, honestly. But I also think Adam is a player that is very good at shitting on people that are worse than him.
Valid.
He's a squeezer, like he's a heavy squeezer, and I think that
squeezer,
like he's such a squeezer. Like he really like all of these weird ass whack ass champs that he plays. He really knows the limits of them and mechanically plays the situations well, but sometimes like he's just in situations where he just like he plays mechanically situations good, but sometimes the situations he find themselves in is like, what the fuck are you doing here with your Malphite throwing pizza rolls? You're not even 6-bait. Why are you at this Drake, man?
Yeah, bro, I just thought of like an Ocean's 11 film where it's like they're gonna rob a bank and then Yamato's the coach of Fnatic and he's like, Adam, you're the squeezer, your job is the in the heist. It's like, you're gonna push silent, you're gonna fucking die on purpose, and then we're gonna get Nash, something stupid like that.
It was the same when I worked with him, right? It's like in isolated 1v1s, like he got some kills against Wunder and he got some solo kills, but then when the game got a little bit more complicated and the enemy was like stacking waves into him and diving him, this where things will look rough. And I don't think Team Heretics is going to be able to do this. Like my main concern, BDS, do I believe Shio's going to wake up? If not, I think Team Heretics wins. If yes, I think BDS is the better team. And on my end, I'm leaning towards Team Heretics ever so slightly because I don't think Shio has a strong enough body of work for me to believe that these 2 weeks is going to really figure themselves out, because I think a lot of things are being tested now from BDS's side. It's like their coaching staff is being tested. They're all like working in the LEC for the first time, right? A lot of those players are also in new waters in terms of what their motivation is and what happens after you lose a finals in a reverse sweep. You know, it's like a lot of things are being tested, and I think the foundation of that looks very beaten up based off of these 9 games that we've seen in isolation. But if Shio plays fucking good, I can see them really dominating Team Heretics in the BO3.
All right, let's put something on it. Loser has to shave their eyebrows.
Eyebrows? Do you want me to commit eyebrows to these two?
I have to go on the LEC. I have to go on the camera on the LEC.
You have glasses. It kind of like covers the eyebrow.
Shut the fuck up. I've got glasses, bro.
Blood.
Right,
my eyebrows are like mustaches. Imagine if I remove these, mate. Like half of my face is gonna have people gonna look at me and it's gonna be you're gonna get experience for discovering fucking new land. Like
I like the idea of shaving one eyebrow.
One.
What?
If Dom grows out his beard and his mustache for a month.
One eyebrow, mate.
Oh, that's so easy. What? Like, I would do that 100%.
That's all
Is
you.
that let me grow it out all month?
That's worse than both eyebrows, I think.
That's all you, Caedrel. You want to sacrifice your eyebrow? You want to
do I like let Dom stream suffer to see him like full bearded or sacrifice an eyebrow?
Sack an eyebrow, mate.
You've put me in bro, you just want the clickbait.
You put me? You put yourself? This was your idea.
There's no way it's good. I mean, sure, bro. Sure, I'm down.
Yo, how about something more simple? How about you shave the Dom logo at the side of your head? You know the fucking.
What you mean more simple? That's even worse.
Wait, that's 10 times worse. What about something
blunt?
simple? How about
I would
you
be
just
down to do that.
how about loser?
How about
has
you
to
just get
jump
like
out
a
of plane,
tattoo
no
of
fair?
Dom's logo
No,
on your
never mind.
forehead?
Bro, shave it in. Like it fucking grows back. I'm down to sacrifice my fade, but eyebrows.
Thing is, Yamato, I don't have a fade. I don't have like the easy access thing shaved into.
Yeah, that's what I have, bro. I've got land right here. What's your logo? What is the Caedrel logo even? It's just a fucking XTD. I'll get an XTD just shaved right into my
that
head.
is the Caedrel logo at this point. To be honest, I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. No, I can't shave my eyebrow.
I'm offering land on my fade. That is my offering in this bet.
I think this
I
is
can go
between you and
Team
Dom. The thing is, if I didn't have to go on the LEC camera, bro, the eyebrow bet, I'm there for it.
Blood, you can draw that.
I'm sitting
No
here,
problem, mate.
That's such a crazy
I'm sitting there, bro. I don't even go outside, bro. I don't care if my chat sees me with one eyebrow for like a month. How long does an eyebrow take to grow back?
It's kind of good content. I mean, to be honest, I feel like you're used to like taking the L if it makes people laugh.
Bro, it takes 3 or 4 months for an eyebrow to grow open.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
No, bro, please. If you're British, it's faster. Like this is a fucking common knowledge.
Wait, what did you just say, Dom, about laughing?
No, I'm saying that you're used to like taking the L if it means your chat gets to like enjoy something and laugh at you. You love that shit,
bro. Yeah, of course. I did that from 2018 before I even had a chat.
Yo, Mark, let me tell you something. Ancient Egyptians, when their cats died, they would shave their eyebrows to show that they are mourning. So it's very common. It's not a big deal, man. Just shave one eyebrow, one eyebrow.
Ancient Egyptians shaved their eyebrows
to mourn their dead cats.
To mourn their dead cats.
Caedrel, how old are you? You're like 27? Or how old are you? 26? 27?
27, yeah.
Yeah, 27. So that's how much your eyebrows have grown. You've never trimmed your eyebrows before.
That's just shaving my eyebrow all of a sudden.
It's
actually,
just one.
I brought this up.
It's just one.
I brought this up.
It's just
like a fucking egg, bro. Shut up.
Bro, eggs are expensive nowadays, mate. They've gone up in price.
Oh, did you know that the Romans used to like caress their eggs and put it in the... Shut up.
Okay, all right.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, so I can shave a logo in my head. I'm down to do that.
Caedrel, if heretics end up winning, I'll shave your fucked up ass scrotum into the side of my head, all right?
Well, am I gonna get a nutsack tattooed on my chin?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have that just shaved into my head.
Yeah. I can't do the eyebrow.
You can't do the eyebrow. Okay.
I'm gonna have to take a back step here, but I'm down for any other ideas and suggestions.
Okay.
I'm here for them.
I think in terms of how things are
waxing.
A waxing.
Hell, a waxing? Like waxing what?
Waxing face?
Let's all wax our chests. That's a great idea.
Oh shit.
No, that's a horrible idea. No, my shit, I've never shaved or anything. I will die.
Bro, my chest is like the Sahara Desert. Ain't no fucking hair on that.
Oh, I'm further.
No, it's a joke, yeah.
I've used up a lot of your time. I wanted to round off with something where we make our... we saw 9 games of regular play, right? 9 games. My idea was that we just do our all pros for these 9 games played. We
shoot the shit.
We shoot the shit. I'm gonna pull up a little Excel sheet, and we just make our little own all pro. Do you guys want to make separate ones, or should we all make one together where we argue for and against? What do you guys feel?
It's the voice of Yamato, bro. What does Yamato want to do?
Well, the voice of Yamato wants to enforce the democracy.
Oh, nice counterpoint.
Damn.
The voice of Caedrel is ready to fill in the sheet. Let's do it separately.
Separately? Okay. Let me make this sheet gorgeous. Boom.
Gorgeous.
Let me stream that bad boy so you guys can see it.
Maybe you can link it, no? And just let us access.
Oh yeah, that's very nice. Very good idea. Wait. Shit, I just doxed my own email. It's fine. Right.
Play some elevator music in the VOD.
Alright, I'm ready. Okay, there we go. You guys can't write though, because otherwise people are gonna mess this shit up. So just tell me which one to add.
Calcular.
All right, so we're gonna
Holy,
put.
that's a.
So
Is that even German? What is that?
That's Swedish, man.
man.
That's Swedish.
What are we ordering for food tonight, gentlemen?
Pizza, bro. That's fucking
Don't
NA.
order a burger or your asshole might explode like Gillies's did.
Yeah.
You know about that? Have you heard about that?
No, I
feel
haven't
like
heard
you
about
have.
the burger explosion.
You haven't heard about the burger
yeah.
ass explosion?
You've
No,
never
I
heard
haven't.
about
Walk me.
Gillies's ass exploding? It's one of our favorite topics in the nutsack. He ate burgers for a month, just straight with like nothing else. He was just eating only burgers, and then he just got so constipated that his whole ass just exploded, and he had to go to the hospital and get surgery.
Holy fuck. Wait, Yamato, what is senf? What does that mean?
What?
You know?
Zenf is mustard.
Oh, my homies hate mustard.
Really?
What?
Yeah, all my homies hate mustard.
Dijon mustard.
Dijon?
All right, I've
Is that
got
a
the,
mustard?
I made the beautiful thing here. You guys see
A
it?
beautiful thing.
You guys see
Yeah, I
it?
see it.
Okay.
How did you do that? You're so fucking clean, buddy.
Just like that, man. Just like that. You want to finish up your order?
Yeah, bro, I'm ready to fill that shit in.
Okay. Do we start with top lane, or are you guys feeling passionate about something in particular?
Yeah, let's start top lane.
All right. My number one is Oscarini.
Okay. I have BB number 1.
I have BB number 1 too. Sorry, I'm just pressing yes on this
All
food
right.
order.
For me, when it comes to BB, I think the main thing that is the counter argument for me in regards to BB was there was a couple of games, especially the game like where they lost with Nico, where he overpostured for fights, and maybe I just view him through the lens where I expect more of him, and maybe that's the issue here for my voting. Because maybe my expectation is that he should be doing better than he did, but I think he performed pretty fucking good because he's my second, of course.
I think BB's lane phase has been weak this split though. Like his lane phase overall, like queuing lane advantages, I think it's generally weak. But I attribute that to Yike mostly playing mid bot side. And BB just kind of being on his own island most of the time is my perspective of things.
So the reverse
like this guy, I think this guy tanks draft a lot as well for G2, which is kind of like the unseen, where he will just blind Cassante and like people will be able to get counter picks into him whatever game it is, whether like they can want to play like Gwen into it or Malphite. Like this guy will take the L on blind pick no matter what for his team. So like it's not just the in game for me that Broken Blade like provides in terms of like being like a really consistent weak side, which I think he's grown into. Whereas if you look at like BB last year, I feel like he was really tunnel vision on carries. Like BB was the carry top. And like he tried to incorporate things like Ornn and Sion into his gameplay when the meta was like shifting in a direction, which kind of worked, mostly like the Ornn. But now I see him as like the weak side warlord.
Okay.
All
Dom,
right.
agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Oscarini is your second, boys, or someone else?
Yep. I have Oscar second.
Yeah, I think Oscar second. I'm thinking about it, but I haven't really thought about top lane much, but I think Oscar would be my second, yeah. Trying to think who else. I think, to be honest, Finn has been fucking insane, and I want to put him in like top 3,
that's
but I don't
my
know if
third.
it's second or third.
That's my third as well.
Finn is
What
my
the
third.
hell?
I'll go
I
first.
thought I'd
this
be
next one.
based. I thought I'd be based at putting in
Well,
Finn.
you always. I mean, I think you've brainwashed me because you always talk about Finn every stack. You're like, this guy is fucking good.
No, Finn had he had good Kisanta game into G2, had great Rumble
Good
game.
Rumble
His
game.
Gragas game
Yep.
was good. Renekton games that were like,
Oh,
where
after
he was the
Riot?
only reason Astralis like were competitive. I thought Finn was crispy. Like Finn was fucking good.
Yeah, I think Finn's been really good.
So Finn's your third, Caedrel? Or you feeling
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
else? All right, boom.
No. I was considering putting him second, but yeah, we'll put him third.
Okay.
Actually, put him second. Put him second for me.
Okay.
Actually, no, put him third. Put him third.
Okay.
Oscar's been fucking good.
Well, what makes you consider Oscarini putting him down? What do you
The,
think?
the thing is, I always like to. It's not that Oscar or Finn. I wasn't comparing them in a sense. I always like to look at the guys on the worst team. You know, I think Finn's team is just way worse, and he's still performing really good.
Yeah,
Does that add more brownie points? In my head, it did. But then Oscar has been playing really well as well. So it's like a toss-up between like, do I go with the person who's playing really well on a good team, or the person who's playing really well on a bad team, and then I just outweigh the individual. But I'll go Finn third.
Okay. Yeah, it's like maybe I'm aware of my own bias here because I was pretty like I didn't look forward to. I thought Oscarini is gonna be like the big fucking weakness of Fnatic, and maybe that jump of performance is making me view him in a different light because I thought even though he had like one good Olaf game, one good Jax game, I wasn't sold on Oscarini at all as a player.
Yeah.
I think in the BO3s, he didn't have a lot of focus on himself because there was just too many other things that everyone focused on, like flashing on the Nexus. Because even that situation, he played pretty bad. He just fucking eat dry.
Will my jungle first All-Pro surprise you if I say Razork?
I have Razork.
I have Razork too.
Guys!
All right, I'll go first. All right, you went first with Razork. I mean, I have one. I have one that I'll say. I don't have Yike top 3 for jungle.
Ooh, I have him third.
I don't have him top 3. I think he's literally
Actually,
just walking into the enemy jungle every single game and getting killed.
Do I have him top 3? I was thinking third.
I guess that's my hot take, is that I don't have Yike top 3, and I'm sure people will be upset.
I think that's fair, yeah. It's like the last game that Razork had, the Maokai game, that was like a pretty standard early game for Yike in terms of what he converted. Like my man was dying.
Like, was it the Kazakhs one where he choked the W flash? Who was that?
Yeah,
against?
that was the one that he choked the W flash. Then he also had the Maokai game versus SK where he suicided. And then he also had the Trundle game where he walked into enemy. So it's like so in almost every single game. So in like half the games this split, he's inted in the enemy jungle at some point. And I just think that's like pretty inexcusable for a jungler. So I have Razork, and then I have Yanko second.
Same. I have Yanko second too. Where you at, Caedrel?
I'm trying to think of Yike's games. I mean, I will say, like, I do remember him walking into jungle a couple times and dying. But other than that, I remember him, like, flame horizoning. I think it's, like, his recovery that game was also insane. Like, he had almost all of the kills the entire game that game, didn't he, as well? Like, I remember they were, like, sieging the Nexus. He was, like, 7 kills. I feel like his comeback was good, even though he, like... I will say, he definitely has walked in and died for no reason a couple times. But barring that, I think he's been carrying pretty... I want to put Yike second.
Okay.
I want to put Yike second. I feel like this guy's been playing good.
It is.
Yeah, I just think that those plays are not possible when you're not on G2. Like, if you do that, and like the argument that people will say is like, oh, well, he's playing like bad because he knows he's on G2, so he can always get back into the game. But I don't really like buy that. To me, it's just like, I just view that as an unacceptable mistake when it happens in games. And like, I think it can happen every now and then, but it's like, it's happened, in the last 2 weeks, it's happened in 4 games or something.
But I also think it's an individual mechanical mistake which can be fixed. I think the idea behind like the Kazakhs one, for example, was good. If it's played better, it's executed even, like, that's a kill, maybe, if the W flash with the heal. But a couple of them...
assuming Malrong also missed his combo, though. Like, Malrong missed his combo as well.
But they both had vision on each other. They had ward on wolves and ward over the wall, so like he could dodge that, right? I feel like that's a mechanical play. Like, his ideas are good. He just needs to tone it in and play it better. So for me, he's like... I think him and Jankos are 2-3 like combined. Like, Jankos is like more consistent and... more consistent in like getting leads and not throwing them away. But Yike is like an enigma at making sure that he's always useful for his team, and like even though he makes those mistakes, his comebacks are always really good, and his mistakes are easily fixable. So like I think they're interchangeable 2-3 for me, Yike and Jankos.
My issue with like when you say you wouldn't put Yike top 3, Dom, like I can't think of who else I would put. That is like... I
mean, I have Elyoya there. I mean, I think that Elyoya has had some bad games, but I still think that he's like, I mean, number one, he plays on just a worse team objectively, and there's been just like a lot of games where people are just sprinting it. But I just think that he's been playing like better overall. So I have Razork, Jankos, Elyoya.
Okay. I'll definitely say, like, if Mad Lion step up in playoffs, I'll definitely put Yoya in like in the top 3 if like Mad Lion starts performing and Elyoya starts performing. But
this is isolated 9 games, right? Nothing else.
Yeah, this is the isolated 9 games that I have in front of me, and like some of those games that he was playing that it wasn't Wukong, like I think there was the Rek'Sai game he played against, I'm looking at now, Heretics. There was a Herald fight on top side where he like died top side, I think he did, and ran back top and refought it, lacking ults or something, and then they lost the game on Herald for that play. And I was just kind of like, why the fuck are they overforcing this so hard? I don't want to pin it on him.
Against Team Heretics, right?
Yeah, but like
because he's playing Rek'Sai and he feels like the game is over. Like they don't get everything.
And maybe it's like tilt plays, but like if I just have these 9 games, I think he's like 4th for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty torn. Like my mind wants to go towards Yike on 3rd because like I agree with the notion that my man like really ran it down, and he gets away with it because he's on G2. But whenever I see in terms of like hitting the right beats, and it's like hitting the right beats in terms of objectives, being there for the bot dives, in terms of how they manage bots, I think they stabilize super well, and the game becomes controlled. And I think that is like jungle hitting the right beats there. Oh, for sure, it's way easier when you're playing on a G2, because I do think that like everyone's hyping up Fnatic's bot lane, but I think G2's bot lane has been like really fucking good. Like really insane. It's like the Noah Trimby is the new thing in town, and it's really fucking fun to watch them play. But Mickey, Hans, and Caps, in terms of like just pure lane dominance and the options that they open up for jungle, it has to be like so fucking freeing to play. So I can see both sides of the argument, but I think more moments for me about Elioya making mistakes are just more ingrained in my brain, and I feel like I weigh them a little bit heavier than the Yike level 3, level 4 deaths. Mid lane, boys. Unless you have something to add about jungle.
Nope.
No, I think Caps is my number 1 mid still.
Same.
Caps is my number 1 mid.
I feel like his MSI performance was.
So I assume we all have Caps number 1 and Humanoid number 2.
I'm low-key considering Larson.
Okay, I have Larson number 3. I have Caps, Humanoid, Larson 1, 2, 3. That's what I have.
I'm putting Larson second, and I like it's based strictly off of his week 3 performance, because he really fucking impressed me week 3. Like he made Rogue look like, I mean, Koi look like an actual team. Like his Nico play was really fucking strong. Like what he did to Astralis, like that looked like fucking a good game. I think in terms of his LB as well was good against Vitality, even though Koi chose to fight Drakes when they really didn't need to. I think in the end he like really picked them apart with LB, and I think that side of him is super good. And I think on the side of Humanoid, I feel like he had an edge in the early weeks in terms of what he wanted to play and what he should have played, but then he kind of fucking lost himself. Like he started playing like he played the Rise into the LB, and then he played like a Syndra game, which didn't make sense to me. I think maybe it was fine because he was like just dominating lane, because Humanoid is a fantastic laner. But those games, I think he just in terms of the sheer force of what was necessary at that point in time, I just value Larson, those 3 games he had in the final weekend just so highly. Like I really like those games from Larson.
I don't know if this is like a weird take, but I have Larson 4. I agree that those games were good, but I also think the person who had like an insane last week was VTO.
Okay.
Because of the strength of schedule. Like Heretics faced Mad, Fnatic, G2, and in all 3 of those games, the best performing, like VTO was smurfing. Like he solo carried next to Jankos the Mad game. The only chance they had against Fnatic was VTO, I felt like, even though like Jungle Top was losing. And in the G2 game, I think he like had a decent game. I think that like the draft was a bit annoying for him to play when you're playing like a Yumi game and you're playing like Kai'Sa into Cassio. That's kind of tough, I think, until you get like 1 or 2 items.
Okay.
Yeah, but, I think that his game was easier though because of what Yike did though. I will say that, because Yike just gives him like that free kill, and then like, you know, he kind of gets like bailed out in a way.
Yeah, for sure. So like even though they lost that G2 game, and it wasn't, I think his weekend performance against the 3 quote unquote strongest teams, I feel like Caps. Oh my double was rank 1 sec. Caps, Humanoid, and then BTO.
Okay.
Holy shit! Is the delivery that fast, or has the podcast went that long?
That's kind of mad. That hasn't been that long since he ordered. Maybe it's just close by. No, like Viteo. I'm trying to remember Viteo's games. I think he had good LB games. I feel like Team Red just had like really good read on what the meta should be. You know.
I mean, I guess the thing for me about Vetio is like when I try to think about him, I only remember static Shiv games. Yeah. Like I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just remember a bunch of static Shiv games.
Fair. There was what was it, like 2 LB games in there, Kai'Sa game in there. He played LB. Like the last weekend was LB Kai'Sa, like straight up.
Yeah.
So that's definitely fair. I could see an argument for squeezing Viteo in that. Just I'm putting Humanoid as my third.
Hey, Caedrel, is that your food?
Yeah, it took like 8 minutes.
What the fuck? Do you live inside a McDonald's, or like what the hell is going on here?
No.
Okay. All right.
So Caedrel, what is your mid 2-3? It's Viteo 3 and second
Viteo
was
3, Humanoid second, yeah.
okay.
I'm a Viteo fan. And you can say, like, well, he was playing static shift champs. And you've got a very good argument. And if it's 13-13, he can't play those champs, valid. But 13-12,
I don't know. People still play him in LCS. So we'll see.
Already? Is LCS on 13-13?
Yeah.
Jizuke
Well, I don't know what
says
it's on
still
today.
OP. Like Jizuke, he's the mad
Jizuke-
scientist in the SEC, and he brings the juice always.
He had an account that was 1300 LP with like 70% win rate, where he was only playing static shiv champs. He just started an account to just play static shiv, and he just got like, I don't know whatever that is, top 30, top 40 with like 70% win rate. He's just smurfing every game. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's different, that guy.
I feel like for bot, we might have the same one too.
Yo,
Is it
Noah Hans?
Noah?
Oh, I have Noah Hans. I have Noah 1, Hans 2.
Ooh,
Same. I also have
Hans
Noah 1.
Noah 1. Hans, I like the fact that Hans playing Kog'Maw though. Like that
That is
is really
based,
done
yeah.
for me.
Are you switching it up, Caedrel?
No, let's go Noah Hans, yeah. No, let's go Hans Noah. I think Hans Sama. I think Noah's been like having an insane split and like his team fighting's nuts. But I like the flexibility that Hans has shown. I like his like Kog'Maw. I like he's always got his Draven pocket pick that you have to ban against him. I think he like soaks a bit more in the draft than Noah.
I think Hansama has been fucking good, and I think he doesn't get talked about enough in that regard for sure. Because I like, even it's like everyone, like a lot of the Fnatic fans are saying, oh, they had the shit draft against G2, which is very true, but conceptually a lot of the things that happened in the first 15 minutes of the game, G2 just like did super well. Like the setup for the second Drake and how they managed the bot in terms of securing it and really like dodging any potential TP advantage or gang play. Like these are very like principled things that where draft sure matters in terms of how the matchups go, but later on you begin to feel the impact of like what a bad draft actually like means on like a deeper level. Sure, they played Lucianami also kind of outdated on 13-11 with Kraken being so strong, but I think Hansama and Mickey have shown so much fucking class. So I can see that. I guess the main thing for Noah, like when it regards to Noah for me, is just he is embodying the things that we love to see from the regions we like to watch. Like he pushes forward, really leverages his cooldowns, really provokes the enemy to pressure onto him. And it's not like, I don't think his play necessarily resembles some kind of fucking KDA player. That's just like circumstantial in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah, I also think like the one thing that salts me is they like, as much as it's Koi bot lane and you can say maybe like Advient's weak or whatever, the fact that they can blind Kog'Maw Brown and push you under tower and get insane leads and win the game through bot. And that sold it to me. I think their lane phase is just so insanely good, the G2 bot lane.
Yep. No, this is the third? Yeah, you're about to say?
I think Patrick is my third.
Oh.
I think the only reason that XL is top 3 right now is because of Patrick. And even in their games they're losing, this guy's playing good, in my opinion.
Okay.
Patrick was also my consideration for third, yeah.
I think he's getting grief.
Who do you
in
have
draft.
third, Yamato?
Like
No. Finish your point, Caedrel.
I don't know. I was going to say I think he's getting griefed in draft a little bit, and his mid jungle was also hinting him a couple games, but he's still playing good.
Yeah, I have a very similar take. I think that if you're doing these compositions where it's tank, mid mage and AD carry, the AD carry needs to perform, and I think like his Zaya games and Aphelios games were pretty big in the games that they won. Trying to think which other AD I would consider.
I would consider Karzi.
I have Karzi
third.
third.
They're in a slump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I put Patrick over.
Okay. I'm making this as we speak. You guys, do you guys have this list in the pocket, or are you just?
I mean, I made it right. I just made it.
Okay.
As you told me to make it.
Okay. Well, my instinct told me Patrick before, because I think also like the reason XL is actually functioning is because Patrick plays well. But I think Kazi definitely. I think he's always tried to be the AD carry that we want AD carries to be, but he just kind of drifts off the far end a little bit too often. but he's definitely putting his body on the line to squeeze some numbers. So I can see that. Support, I'm assuming we all have Mickey up there.
Yep.
Yep.
We probably all have the same number 2, I would assume.
Do you have Trimby?
Yep.
Yo.
Mickey, Trimby, Hilly.
Yep. That's what I have.
I mean, there's arguments to put in like maybe like Mercer and stuff, but if I was making a team on All Pro, I'm putting Hilly in there no matter what.
I refuse on principle to put a Yuumi player in my top 3 for All Pro.
Yeah.
Just it is what it is.
I'm with you. I think that the role of support has been very like limited in terms of what the responsibility is, and I think that a lot of supports are gonna get a little bit exposed coming into the next one. I feel like, especially in terms of like fighting around 3v3s, it's like fucking Hilly is gonna be in Rel Town, like he's gonna love that shit. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna definitely be a good time. Okay, are you guys happy? This looks kind of good. We have a lot of similar ideas. 9 games of bullshit BO1s. But we made a list because people love lists. Another clickbait title, boys. Another clickbait titles. Was there anything that we didn't cover? You guys feel passionate? You want to flame someone? You want to talk shit about someone?
I got to flame T1, Evie. I got the hype and the shy. Yeah, no, that's pretty much my talking points. I have a checklist every stream. There's an I will dominate bingo card. The free square is flaming piglet, which I also did briefly in this episode. So I covered everything. This is my average on camera appearance.
I'm all good.
Okay. I had this one thing that I was curious because we are all we had it's different levels of old, but we are. What does that mean,
generation.
Motherfucker? Okay. No, it's like, I mean, in the context of League, like we're on the same level. We are ancient relics.
Okay.
I am Kabutops and you are Omastar. Like we had this conversation. Caedrel, you have some way backs. I was like just as a conversation point. In terms of how esports has progressed, what do you think? What do you guys think is something that players are spoiled about? Like shit that we didn't have, that we just fought through, right? Because our conditions were garbage back in the old days.
True. They didn't have to fight through the ordering 3 times a day.
Spoiled as fuck, is my question.
Yeah, new players are so fucking spoiled. It's ridiculous. I talked about this on one of my shows, but like, you know, now people are doing like walkouts because academy players won't get paid 60K. It's like, motherfucker, I got paid like less than 30, and I was just happy to be in esports and not have to go to fucking college. Like I was like, dude, I'm not spending a year in college right now, and I'm traveling all over the world playing a video game. That was enough where I was like, oh, I'm making money on top. That's fine. And now it's like you need 60K for academy players that get like 4 months off a year. That like, I mean, to live in with housing already paid for and all this bullshit. Like, what the fuck is going on? Why are players like don't want to play the game? And there's a million problems. There's solo queues an issue. Champions queue is dead instantly in every region it touches. Like, these motherfuckers don't have the grind. They don't look. I always say that the best motivator is like borderline homelessness, and that was my motivator when I was a pro player.
Same for me, man.
Covered.
Bro, like my father would like. My father is like, you fucking imported him from 300 years back. Like he said the game, he's like metal music is the devil, everything's the devil, playing PC games. It's like, I went from school to go work with my father into hide under a blanket to play solo queue. You know, I was on that 2 hour sleep a day cycle. Like I burnt my balls and my thighs playing on this shitty school laptop because I wanted to fucking make it big, you know? And then eventually it's like, oh, you want to coach? Yeah, I want to go to a gaming house. Fuck, I need to escape. Yes, I will coach. It was like, fucking, back then, it's like so many fucking people owe us money. Dom, you and I don't know if you're in the same boat, Caedrel.
Oh, yeah.
Like people owe us money. It's like back then, for sure, it was all about like, I just want to do this and have a roof over my head and eat, and I'm fucking happy. Give me internet, and that's it. And
I'll play 18 hours a day. I don't give a fuck.
Bro, Challenger Series, I didn't get paid for 6 months playing that shit.
Ooh.
I will have to come in later on in the year. I got scammed. I got fucking double contracted. I was playing for mouse pads, bro. These kids these days sign six-figure deals with their rent paid, their ass licked, their fucking dick sucked, their fucking nutritionists there, bro. Shut the fuck up and queue up.
Yeah, just queue up. Just play the game.
Like, EU Champs queue is dead for the last 2 weeks as well. Like, it went from getting paid nothing to getting paid something to getting a gaming house while being paid, where now you're in a gaming house getting paid with nutritionists, psychologists, insane, like, fucking living standards, you know? And I mean, the only real thing that I think that affects pro players a lot is still burnout and stuff, over grinding. But the fact that there's so little variables that they actually have to think about out of the game, versus back in the days, you don't even know if you got a house to stay in when you're getting kicked out of a gaming house.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you can't afford shit. And that was the real grind set of like, oh fuck, my life's kind of on the line here.
Yeah.
I remember when it was just Caedrel in his plant, and look at that motherfucker now. Look at it. Look at all it's been through. Like,
bro,
Caedrel is planting it.
Look at him.
Yeah.
He's chilling.
Jesus, man. At this point, just put it down, bro. Just put it down, like,
no, the stick fell over. It's not bad. It's just the stick fell over. That's why it looks bad.
You haven't fucking tied to a stick in order to survive.
Yeah,
bro,
this guy's trying to run away.
He's
trying to run to the sun, man. He's trying to run away to the sun. I can't allow that. I have to keep him stand up.
Let me just tell you guys, you know, like when I was in LCK, right? It's like being in Sandbox was the best fucking experience ever. Because literally that we could focus on only the game. Everything was taken care of. But no one took that shit for granted, man. Like the energy that you had when you went into the gaming room, because we had 15 players, we had 10 players, one gaming room here, one gaming room here. You could hear the keyboards clicking. You could everything, like the room was just vibrating with energy all the way into the AMs. When it was break day, everyone pissed off and played Maple Story. I didn't see them the whole fucking day when it was break day. But every other day, they didn't take that shit for granted. They were fucking happy with the fact that everything was taken care of was a big fucking plus and it moves in the right direction. But the main issue is when you take that shit for fucking granted, you know, and the level of complaints and just becomes elevated to the point where you're like, what the fuck are we doing here, you know? Ashes, because it ties into the conversation that Dom, you've mentioned so many times. Like, yo, where's the fucking pride? What are you putting on the line here in terms of what you're representing? And like, is there gratitude in the opportunity and what you have at hand, or are you just going through the motion and you're gonna take it for granted, like, and then get to the point where you're no longer playing and you regret your fucking decisions, you know?
Yeah,
I think that's.
I mean, I'm a huge pride person. I mean, that's why I think that like the LPL is so cool to watch, because you watch the teams like TT that have like 0.01% chance of making playoffs, and they're like playing for their fucking lives. Like in the series where they're playing versus EDG, they win and UCal celebrates like he won Worlds. Like he does the gorilla. He's like beating on his chest. He like goes into the audience, like does the jack troll with his girlfriend, and just like runs around the fucking stage 3 times. Like the man is just completely unleashed. And when I see like LEC and LCS players, like they win, but they win a game that's like bad, and it's like they don't even want the embarrassment. You can feel it. It's like they don't even want the camera on them. It's just a whole different thing.
No, for sure. Okay, boys. 2 hours and 30 minutes. It was a good time. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate the both of you. You guys are busy as fuck. As I mentioned before, you two are the fucking the goats of co-streaming. I think Caedrel made a good point though, in terms of Dom being the OG. You know, you're like the West Coast classics.
I'm just old at this point. I've just been around for just a long ass time.
No, I appreciate the both of you, and I'll be looking forward to Caedrel shaving his eyebrows. We'll get to the point where we can raise the stakes enough from our point of view, Dom, where we can make him bet an eyebrow. We will get to that point.
Wait till Weibo plays against OMG. If it happens, the stakes are all there, bro. They're medium rare.
Jesus.
Slap it on the table. Slap it on the table. They might face off.
No, we need to see if it happens, because that's a long way away. That's like 5 best of 5s away. That ain't, dude.
I'm just trying to gather titles, you know how it is.
By the way, LPL, like that playoff, it starts on the 20th. They're just going straight into that shit. They are completely unleashed.
Holy fuck. You think there's a Weibo post about schedule being too hard or them complaining or some shit?
Yeah, I think so. I think OMG is going to come out with a statement about how their players are burnt out and, you know, the mental stress of being a pro player.
For sure. I think we can end it on that. That's what you get. Well, if you're a pro player, that's what you get paid for, to deal with all the fucking stress and do it well. You know?
Yes, 100%.
That's what you're getting paid for.
And if you can't, then find a new fucking job. It's not a God-given right to be a professional gamer. Like, I don't know why people are treating it. They're like, but I deserve it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that are extremely fucking stressful. And like, if you're going to be paid well for doing something that is considered enjoyable, there's probably going to be some negatives that come with it.
100%. It's like, if you're trying to compete to be the best in anything, work-life balance becomes a meme, you know? It's like, your work becomes your life. It is what it is. Okay, boys. What you eating?
All right.
Closing statements. Okay. See you, boys. Thank you very much.
Peace.
All right. GG's.